take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riz Scala, every Saturday night on the LNM Network from 9 p.m. to midnight. And now your host, Riz Scala.
Well, hello and welcome, everyone. Wow. I don't even know where to start tonight. My goodness. So much happening. Oh, first of all, we were supposed to have 9 o'clock supposed to be the Fox News Hour. We have about 4 or 5 minutes of Fox News just to kind of give you what's going on with regard to the mainstream media, so you have an idea what they're reporting on. That didn't work. Then I had problems with my mixer panel. Mixer panel didn't want to cooperate at the last moment, and always fun doing live radio. I got kind of spoiled for a while there. I had my own engineer, producer. When I did AM radio, it was great. I just walked into the studio. They gave me a mic. I got on the mic and started yakking. But then I had the Fish Florida show. When we first initially started, we were on another network, and I had my own producer. And it kind of spoils you. They are in the background working feverishly to make sure that everything works smoothly for you, so that people on the other end of the microphone don't see abrupt interruptions here and there. So when you're wearing many hats, then the likelihood of something going awry is, Anyway, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen in tonight. I'm going to have Angel Strong. If you've never heard Angel, or if you don't know who Angel is, you're in for a treat. This young lady is amazing. I don't even think amazing describes her properly. She is going to give us some lowdown on, you know what I like about her? She comes from a wide variety of perspectives, but the one that really intrigues me is the DNA, the blood, the seed, how she is able to explain the difference between good seed and bad seed, I guess is the best way. When I have her on, I'll have to ask her clarify that for me, but always been intrigued by that. And I see somebody in the chat rooms asking about my granddaughter. Thank you so very much to those of you who have prayed for my granddaughter. Those of you who don't know what happened, she had been having an issue with her ears. She's 11 years old, and her uncle, when he was about that, and maybe a little younger, had issues with his ears as well. Well, hers got infected, terribly infected. She had to go in for emergency surgery. She had new tubes put in her ears so that her ears could drain. A couple of days later, she went into a psychosis. She First, she didn't know where she was. Then she says, Mommy, I don't know what I'm doing. It was really horrible to watch because you're helpless. What can you do? Your child is sitting there, Mommy, my head's exploding. Mommy, stop it. Mommy, please make it stop. And oh my gosh, you talk about heart-wrenching. So we've gone from that. We've made a tremendous amount of progress from that into she's still having these episodes, but they're not as severe. They're not as often. She was at 3 different hospitals in the span of a week. They all believed it was a psychosomatic kind of thing. More and more I am believing it's along that line, but not in the sense that she's making it up. I believe that it is in the sense that it could be a reaction from the anesthesia that she received for the emergency surgery. I have a friend who has a personal friend of theirs who is an anesthesiologist, and I had asked them to ask their friend, is this a possibility? And they said, absolutely, this is a possibility, and what you're describing are the side effects to the T. So hopefully she'll be able to get this stuff out of her body. Mom is putting her through a cleanse, a mild cleanse, get the stuff out of her body and she can get back to normal. But all of you that prayed for her, thank you. It really meant a lot to me to know that people out there prayed for her. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyway, tonight. Oh my gosh, tonight. I'm going to be talking about a couple of things tonight. First of all, I mentioned this last night. You know, I am blessed in many ways. I was fortunate in a sense to be able to be in a position where I could adopt children. I adopted 7. I'm not patting myself on the back. These are just facts. And I've always had a passion for kids. I was a foster parent at the time. I was married at the time. I think we fostered about 19 altogether. Kids have always been a passion of mine because as growing up for me was kind of difficult. I was a little Egyptian boy trying to fit in with all my American friends when I first got here. So I had a kind of a rough time at the beginning until I figured out how to fit in. And so I see that with a lot of kids. And who more than foster children who feel like, why am I not? I had one of them would ask me, it was so heart-wrenching, why am I not with my mom? Where's my mom? And what do you say to him? This is a 4 or 5-year-old child who remembers they're with their mom. It's heart-wrenching to see some of this stuff go on. So kids have been one of my passions. And out of that, what has grown is in whatever capacity I can, do whatever I can to help make society a better place. Because I have seen too many changes, and they haven't been for, in my opinion, they haven't been for the good. I've seen so many things that are insane. And more and more I'm speaking out against these things because I realize that I myself haven't been addressing them in the manner that they should be addressed. We have laws that it's okay to kill a child. There is no argument that you can present me with that would tell me it's okay for a mother to carry a child almost to term, even in some cases to term, and other rare cases after term, and then demand that that child be murdered and say that's okay. There's no way. Now, I would be one who would be willing to entertain special circumstances, because there are special circumstances where a mother's life might be in danger. The child may be stillborn, so why continue to carry the child with you? There's special circumstances, but this idea that it's okay in the 3rd trimester, in any trimester, or in any day, that it's okay to take the life of a child. If you don't think that those children feel pain, you're sadly mistaken. There are doctors who have documented that these children feel pain. Then we go from the legality of being able to kill a human being who is supposed to be by God supposed to be in the safest place that God has fabricated for them, in the womb. We move from that kind of mentality into a mentality that says, I have to be a victim. I have to find a way that I can be a victim. And in the process of being a victim, whoever the perpetrators are must be some way, somehow, related to or tied to this president. I'm going to make let me bring this up real quick. I want you to hear this. This is the chief of police, Chicago. I've had people curse me because I said this man, however you pronounce it, Juicy or whatever his name is, Juicy whatever it is. I've had people curse me because I said this man's making all this up. Okay, don't take my word for it. Let's listen to the, I think this is the chief of police of Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can bring this up.
This announcement today recognizes that Empire actor Jussie Smollett took advantage of the pain and anger of racism to promote his career. I'm left hanging my head and asking why. Why would anyone, especially an African American man, use the symbolism of a noose to make false accusations? Bogus police reports cause real harm. They do harm to every legitimate victim who's in need of support by police and investigators, as well as the citizens of this city. But this publicity stunt was a scar that Chicago didn't earn and certainly didn't deserve. This stunt was orchestrated by Smollett because he was dissatisfied with his salary. So he concocted a story about being attacked. But my concern is that hate crimes will now publicly be met with a level of skepticism that previously didn't happen. That said, Smollett was treated as a victim throughout this investigation until we received evidence that led detectives in another direction.
On the early morning of February 29th at 2 o'clock in the morning, Jussie Smollett reported that he was the victim of a hate crime. He reported to us that the two offenders yelled racial and homophobic and political statements at him and beat him, put a noose around his neck, and threw bleach on him, and then fled from the area. We quickly found two persons of interest on video that we believed were the likely offenders in this case. We then started searching the area for video cameras and witnesses that could help us with our investigation. We then started tracking these two persons of interest backwards to where they came from. We tracked them to going to O'Hare Airport and jumping on a flight to Nigeria. We were able to locate and identify these two individuals, these two persons of interest, when they entered back into the country at customs. Their attorney showed up. I think you've all seen her on the news the last couple of days. She came to us and after speaking with these two people of interest, she said that something smelled fishy. She did not think that they were the offenders as were reported. After approximately 47 hours of them being in custody and hours of them meeting with us and telling us their story and documenting their story, did we release them without charging, and I classified them no longer as suspects or persons of interest. It was at that time that we locked in both of these witnesses to the grand jury. I'm told they did an excellent job, and then the state's attorney's office approved charges against Jussie for the class 4 disorderly conduct false police report. We met with Jussie's attorneys, and we arranged for him to turn himself in, and as you all know, he turned himself in at 5 o'clock this morning in the 1st District in Chicago.
What does that say about us as a society? When someone has to create something in order for them to be a victim so that they can increase the amount of money they make or have people feel bad for them or stir up a particular set of people. And he's not the only one. I mean, and it's not just people of color that are doing this. We had a lady that was, let's see if I can find this real quick. I had a lady that was, from what I recall, she was a lesbian. And she decided that she needed some attention. And so she faked a brutal hate crime. She was not a person of color. So it's not just people of color that are doing this. This is, again, it's a mentality. It's something happening upstairs. I want to read you something. This is just how far some people go. This, we know that now that this man, Jussie, however you pronounce it, Juicy, Jussie, whatever it is, paid people to do this to him. So that, for whatever reason. But he paid people to do this for him. He went out of his way to try to make a group of people look bad. A 33-year-old lesbian, a former University of Nebraska women's basketball star, arrived at the front door of her neighbor, Linda Rprs' house on July 22nd with a story out of a horror movie. 3 masked men had broken into her home, tied her up with plastic zip ties, carved a cross into her chest, and anti-gay slurs into her arms and stomach, spray-painted hateful words onto her walls, then tried to set her home on fire. All I could see was a cut across her forehead and blood running down, Rprs said. It turns out that the story that she is reporting to her neighbor was all made up so that she could say there is an agenda out there against the gay population. This is the commonality I'm seeing, and it is disturbing. And as a police chief said, what about the next time that somebody becomes a victim, a real victim? How much more difficult is it going to be for them to convince people, yes, this really did, no, I didn't pay to have somebody, I wasn't part of this. I really certainly, I'm telling you, I'm disgusted with this guy. And when Angel comes on, she's got some things she wants to point out as well about this guy. It's not just him, though. Again, I'm back to this mentality. This mentality of I'm a victim, and I see it on a personal basis. Where somebody does something, they know that what they're doing is wrong, and then you jump on them and say, hey, what are you doing? Oh, my God. And they're crying the blues that you were mad at them or you were mean to them or whatever. Where's this acceptance of responsibility for the decision that you made, which followed the action that you took, which caused whatever it was, the argument that made you feel bad? It's all the person's fault who is pointing out what is wrong. Now, I know that sometimes people point out something wrong and they're hypocrites. I understand that. But what I'm talking about isn't one of those examples. This is something where someone has done something. They know these are grown adults. They know what they're doing is wrong. While they're doing it, they know what they're doing is wrong. They know that if they get caught doing it, they're going to get grief for it. But they decide to do it anyway. And then when they get caught, they cry, victim, I'm a victim. Oh, no. What does that say about a society? We have been silent far too long. You know what else is under attack right now? You know, I've said many times, the family is under direct attack by the system that we live in. Direct attack. Many of you are so young you don't remember there was a time when there was an option, there was a choice for families. If a mom wanted to stay home and work in the home, and let me kid you not, the work at the home is every bit as hard as the work outside the home. My mom worked feverishly to make sure that the house was clean, there was warm food on the table, to see to it that the house was a home, a welcoming home for us. She went out of her way repeatedly. Many of you don't realize that is a direct attack upon our family. When was the last time you sat down at a dinner table as a family and enjoyed dinner with each other without technology interfering? Because we did that 5 to 6 times a week. We did that. And I believe that was the glue, if you will, the adhesive that caused us to stay together as a family, very close, very close. My brother's my best friend. I believe that was a vital part of the equation. It doesn't happen anymore. Both parents have to work just to make ends meet barely. And you're so tired you don't want to come home and cook and have to deal with the aftermath of the dishes and whatever else. So we don't eat together as a family. We don't spend time together as a family, and that bonding doesn't occur like it used to in the old days. The families are under attack. Our freedom, as we know it, you and I, our freedom is under attack. These new people who have come in to take places in our government, whether it's Congress or the Senate, particularly the Democrats. I'm not picking on just them because there are Republicans who are right there behind them, but particularly the Democrats. They're doing the best that they can to continue to infringe upon our right to defend ourselves. And people are speaking out. Finally, people are speaking out. I want you to hear this guy. I enjoyed, this is a man, I wish I knew his name that didn't have it on the video, speaking to a bunch of representatives. And he's basically telling them, you better be careful. You're treading on thin ice.
Good evening, representatives, and thank you again for your time today. Good morning, right? The United States of America, above all else, is a constitutional republic. Yes, we have a democracy in which we get to vote for our elected officials, but our elected officials, you, above all else, are limited in your power and in the legislation that you pass by the Constitution of the United States, a document on which you raised your right hand to God and swore an oath to, a document whose premise is regularly under attack. Unfortunately, it's being attacked by the very people who are sworn to abide by it, our government. And it's our own faults that the Constitution is under duress. We, the American people, who are supposed to have control of our government, have been asleep at the wheel and all too trusting, while you, our legislators, senators, representatives, and politicians of all parties and backgrounds have run amok, unabashedly using your power and influence to limit the freedoms and liberties of the individual. Americans love to proclaim that we are a free people, yet have lost sight of what it means to be free, and in saying so are lying to ourselves. Yes, we are fortunate enough to have freedoms that others in the world do not, but we are no longer free as our founders had intended us to be. Yet those very founders had foreseen how even in America, a runaway government could become problematic, and they added a constitution to an amendment to the Constitution, a fail-safe, so to speak, that would protect us against the rampant abuse of power by our government, an inalienable constitutional right to keep and bear arms. The founders saw this as so important and necessary, it was the Second Amendment to our Constitution, directly following the right to free speech, which I'm fortunate enough to benefit from here today. The founders of this great land knew, having just won a war for their freedom against an unjust power, that given enough time, all governments have a propensity to become too powerful, and as a direct result, the freedom of its constituents falters. This was their reasoning behind their inclusion of the right to keep and bear arms within the Constitution. They even went so far as to include, even though it's already implied, the phrase, "shall not be infringed." This does not mean that you, regardless of how many people call on you to do so, can limit the type or capacity of the firearms that we, as free Americans, can own. Don't forget that at the time of this country's founding, Americans had access legally to the same type of weaponry that the military had. And that was the point. It was for our protection against the state. That's how we can keep them in check. I think if we look at the tremendous amount of overreach practiced today by the United States government, it's pretty apparent why those at the very top want to take away this means of protection that our forefathers entrusted to us. They've realized that we Americans who hold our liberties dear are fed up. We are tired of being overregulated. We're tired of being taxed until we're near penniless. We're tired of our money going to a Federal Reserve to pay an unsustainable debt that we have to international banksters who couldn't care less about America. We're tired of having to ask for government's permission and licensure to do things that are within our God-given rights as free people to do. We're tired of seeing state-run programs being ran inefficiently, ineffectively, and wastefully. We're tired of news outlets, Hollywood, social media, and the education system being used as propaganda to indoctrinate the populace and advance the state's agenda. We're tired of being lied to. We're tired of going to war under false pretenses. To summarize, we're tired of our uncontrollable government. While we feel our voices have fallen on deaf ears to our politicians, make no mistake that amongst the citizenry, there is a quiet storm brewing. We are approaching a tipping point, and you'd be remiss to think that those at the top of the power structure aren't shaken by this. It doesn't take much critical thought to surmise why they're trying so hard to pass legislation against privately owned munitions. And to those who support this legislation, it's my understanding that you believe by being here, you're advocating against violence. On the contrary, you are advocating for violence. If the state decides to make 10-round magazines and assault weapons, which by the way is an incredibly vague, ambiguous term that I don't think anybody could really define, if you decide to make them illegal, are you advocating that the state use violence or threats of violence to disarm innocent Americans? Because it certainly sounds like it. You can't sincerely believe that we're just going to forfeit our right to self-defense, knowing the purpose of this right and understanding the unlawfulness of civil asset forfeiture, notwithstanding the money people have spent on their guns. What happens when we defy these laws? Are you advocating that men with guns come to take away our guns? Because it sure sounds like it. Also, it needs to be said that I'm sure some of those on the other side have used the words Trump and Hitler in the same sentence, yet advocate that the state, with someone who they refer to as a fascist dictator at the forefront, be the only entity allowed to have guns. You see where I'm going with this? These people are hypocrites, and they should think for themselves instead of thinking what they're told to think. And before you quip that I'm here on behalf of the NRA or that I have some sort of ulterior motive, I am not, and I do not. I am not an NRA member. In fact, I believe that the NRA is far too willing to compromise on some gun laws as they know they will take on more donors and make more money whenever there is conflict. So the more they compromise, the more gun laws get introduced and the more money they make. So no, before anybody says so, I'm not NRA, and I'm also not what you might call a gun nut. I own but a pistol for personal protection and a rifle which I've literally just acquired as a direct result of this law being written. I'm not a sportsman and I'm not a collector. I'm just someone with an understanding of history who by virtue does not trust his government. And I know what some of you may be thinking, that I'm some sort of extremist. My delivery is very abrasive. Some of you aren't thinking at all because you tuned me out at the start once you heard my position, and that's fine. If these generalizations apply to you, I ask you to please familiarize yourself with the history of America and the Constitution as it was written. Ladies and gentlemen, America was conceived out of defiance, and we not only have a constitutional right as free Americans, but also an inalienable right as human beings to defy any and all laws that are unjust. Lest we not forget that a mere 3% of colonists sparked the American Revolution. There are millions of libertarians paying attention to what is being discussed today. Representatives, it is a sure bet that if the government you represent continues on this path of tyranny, we will not comply. I ask you to please remember the basis on which this country came to be before you decide to pass any more overreaching legislation, especially in regards to firearms. For those who forget history are doomed to repeat it.
And I got one more, and then I'm going to bring on Miss Angel Strong. Give me just a moment. Let me bring on this real quick. Another clip just to show you people are getting sick and tired. We're fed up. We're just disgusted with what is going on, and we're not remaining silent. Not enough of us are standing up, but there are those of us, many of us, who are standing up and pleading our voices and warning these people, just outright warning them. Listen.
Mr. Robinson?
Yes.
I didn't have time to
You have to
prepare-
give us your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Mark Robinson. I live That's right here in Greensboro. Lived in Greensboro all my life. I didn't have time to write a fancy speech. I didn't have time to, I didn't have the resource of an English teacher to sit down and write a speech with at school today and be, brought over here or practice or anything. What I really came down here for is this. I've heard a whole lot of people in here talking tonight about this group and that group and domestic violence and blacks, these minorities and that minority. What I want to know is, when are you all going to start standing up for the majority? And here's who the majority is. I'm the majority. I'm a law-abiding citizen who's never shot anybody, never committed a serious crime, never committed a felony. I've never done anything like that. But it seems like every time we have one of these shootings, nobody wants to put the blame where it goes, which is at the shooter's feet. You want to put it at my feet. You want to turn around and restrict my right, constitutional right that's spelled out in black and white. You want to restrict my right to buy a firearm and protect myself from some of the very people you're talking about in here tonight. It's ridiculous. I don't think Rod Serling could come up with a better script. It does not make any sense. The law-abiding citizens of this community and many communities around this country, we're the first ones taxed and the last ones considered and the first ones punished when things like this happens, because our rights are the ones that are being taken away. That's the reason why I came down here today. Gun show or no gun show, NRA or no NRA. I'm here to stand up for the law-abiding citizens of this community, because I'm going to tell you that what's going to happen. You can take the guns away from us all you want to. You all write a law, I follow the law, I'll bring my guns down here, I'll turn them in. But here's what's going to happen. The Crips and the Bloods on the other side of town, they're not going to turn their guns in. They're going to hold on to them. And what's going to happen when you have to send the police down there to go take them? The police can barely enforce the law as it is. As what I see, we demonize the police, criminalize and vilify the police, and we make the criminals into victims. And we're talking about restricting guns? How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that when the police department's already hamstrung? You're not going to be able to go down here and take these guns from these criminals. So the criminals are going to hold on to their guns. They're still going to have them. They're still going to break in my house, and they're still going to shoot me with them. And guess who's going to be the one that suffers? It's going to be me. Well, I'm here to tell you tonight, it is not going to happen without a fight. And when I say fight, I don't mean shots fired. I don't mean fist thrown. I mean I'm going to come down here to this city council and raise hell just like these loonies from the left do until you listen to the majority of the people in this city. And I am the majority. The majority of the people in this city are law-abiding, and they follow the law, and they want their constitutional right to be able to bear arms. They want to be able to go to the gun show and buy a hunting rifle or a sport rifle. There are no military-grade weapons sold at the gun show. An AR-15 is not a military-grade weapon. Anybody that would go into combat with an AR-15 is a fool. It's a semi-automatic .22 rifle. You'd be killed in 15 minutes in combat with that thing. So we need to dispel all these myths, and we need to drop all this division that we got going on here. Because the bottom line is, when that Second Amendment was written, whether the framers liked it or not, they wrote it for everybody. And I am everybody. And the law-abiding citizens of this city are everybody. And we want our rights, and we want to keep our rights. And by God, we're going to keep them, come hell or high water.
I'd say that's a pretty strong warning. And a very well-deserved applause. I'd say that's a pretty strong warning. More people are getting fed up with what's going on. I think we are reaching a point where clearly you're not going to be able to sit on the sideline any longer. You're going to have to make a decision. Either you're going to be part of the solution or you're going to be part of the pollution, as I put it. So anyway, as I have been saying earlier, I'm going to have Angel Strong on with me tonight. If you've not heard this young lady, oh my goodness, are you in for a treat tonight? An amazing young lady. There's just not enough I can tell you about her. She is so full of so much information from so many different avenues. So anyway, thank you so very much, Angel. I greatly appreciate you taking time to call in, and welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. And Rascala, being a follow-up to that last man speaking, it's a hard act to follow, but wow, was he on point.
I think that more and more people are just, we've been pushed up against the wall for so long. And I see that as soon as these new representatives, particularly the Democrats, but some Republicans are in there, as soon as they've gotten into office, the first things they're concerned with is the continual disarmament of the law-abiding citizen. And I think that we've just had it. Enough already.
Well, they basically are saying that good behavior you get punished for. If you're law-abiding, then you lose your rights. And if you're illegal or a criminal, you gain more rights than people that are law-abiding citizens. Exactly what that man just said.
But crime isn't supposed to.
Frustrating.
Crime isn't supposed to pay, right? Isn't that what they tell
It
us?
doesn't.
Crime does. Lord
It's
have
not
mercy.
supposed to, but
Yeah.
what's happened is everything is backwards. And oh my gosh, Rascala, I was laughing when you're calling that guy Juicy.
Jussie
Whatever his
Juicy,
name
yeah,
is.
Yeah.
I call him Wussy
Yeah.
because Wussy Smollett.
Yeah, well, you know, if it's wussy and then you just put a J instead of it, then it's Jussie, right? Jussie?
Well, I mean, if you
Wussy,
first
Jussie?
of all, his name is Justin,
Mhm.
and he chose this Wussy, Jussy, whatever he chose. He changed his name to be more effeminate.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, he's like the trifecta. He's biracial, he's bisexual, he's bi-religion. His father was a Jew, his mother was a Catholic. I mean, so they
Wow.
hit, everybody could be offended by him.
Wow.
Every single thing that would be on the left side, he stood for. And this whole, I'm
curious.
sorry, I'll let you get a word in. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. I'm curious. Do you know if he has any? Do you know if he has any ties to Obama? Because it's like Obama. He's half white. He's half black. He was part Muslim. He's part Catholic. A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Well, I know he has met with the Obamas.
Oh, okay. Well, that figures. That definitely figures. Lord
But I
have
mean,
mercy.
this whole fiasco, I think somebody must have thought that they should wear Make America Hate Again instead of Make America Great Again.
They do.
Because to pull this off as a MAGA hat, and as everybody has said, it's not just me, but it's everybody. When you hear Chicago is MAGA country, that's the craziest thing. I mean, whoever wrote that script needs to go back to kindergarten.
And the other thing is, do you think that this was all his idea alone by himself?
No, I think that he has some backers because, like I said, he hits every avenue with the gays, with the black, and this has nothing to do with him being biracial. I'm just saying the left promotes anything that has to do with a hate crime. If you have all those elements of that he had, they catapulted into the stratosphere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the bottom line is he has to be as simple-minded as anybody could possibly be to think that somebody was going to not follow up this story. I mean, as far as checking out if somebody actually did something to him. Like when you get bleach thrown on you, we've seen victims that actually have had that happen. They're actually burnt.
I guess it is burn. It's a chemical burn. Yeah, you're right.
Yes,
This-
a chemical
this skin,
burn.
yeah.
And to carry and to purchase a noose and to do all the crazy things that he did. Let me tell you, I pegged this from the get-go like so many others did, that this is going to come out, that he's on some kind of bipolar medicine. They're going to blame it on some meds, that he's psycho. I mean, I'm not doubting that he's a psycho, but I'm just saying that they're going to blame it that he was out of his mind. Well, of course he was out of his mind, but he did it intentionally.
Yeah.
And he better, I hope that they make him serve as much time as a real hate crime would have been penalized for.
Can you honestly think for any degree of time, an eye blink's worth of time, that this man did not know what he was doing was wrong at any given time? I'm going to hire these guys. I'm going to pay these guys. They're going to beat me. I'm sorry to laugh, but really, it's so disturbing that if I don't laugh, I'll end up crying about it. This tells me that the mentality of some people out there is really endangers society. You know, when we're willing to pay somebody to hurt us in order to further our goal, and then other people who are good-hearted come along and say, "Oh, you know, you poor guy. We're so sorry. What can we do to help?" And blah blah. I think, if I'm not mistaken, some people raise some money for him on top of all of this. What happens to that money?
Of course. And Rascala, did you see the two guys? If they would have hit him, he'd still be looking for his brain. They could have pulverized him. You're talking about somebody that has the physique of jellyfish, and those guys were bodybuilders.
Yeah,
I know because I was at one time a bodybuilder. They could have crushed him.
Yeah.
This is just as asinine. He couldn't beat his way out of a wet paper bag, and he was saying that he was throwing down. He didn't have one deflective injury. It's just all insane. But what happened is, as you know, the left stream media and all those stars that came screaming that Ellen Page or whatever her name, Elaine Page, I don't even know who she is, but she's a moron, went on one of the late night shows and were saying that it was Mike Pence's it was because of Mike Pence.
Oh, yeah, I saw I didn't read the article, but I saw the headline. Yeah, it's Mike Pence's fault that he did this.
Can you even, I mean, she has to have two firing brain neurotransmitters, and one's not even firing straight. And no apologies. You're not reading anything. They're coming up now with a narrative that is going to absolve him from punishment. Not the Chicago police, because they're furious, because they lost a lot of man hours, and they lost a lot of time and money.
Yep.
I'm fired up about it because it just is very irritating.
And it's disturbing. It's very disturbing that people can carry on like this. And you notice when it was first reported, it was like, you know, pedal to the metal, back up against the wall. We're going to go as hard as we can with this story. And then as it gradually came out that, there may be a possibility, he may be making this up, it kind of quieted down more. They didn't come with the truth about what happened as anywhere near the degree that they did with the initial part of the story. They just, okay, it's got to be true. We're going to go with it, and we're going to go, you know, pedal to the metal hard as we can. And then when they find out that it's not true, they don't go, okay, we're going to go with this pedal to the metal hard as we can. You know, they walk away from it and go on to something else, so that people still have the impression that what happened had a degree of truth to it. And someone like you or I walk up and say, wait a minute, this isn't what, oh, no, that's not what I remember. Of course, because this is the system that's in place. I wanted to ask you.
Like you say, though, the retractions are on Section C, page 32, bottom left-hand corner.
Yeah,
instead of headlines that when it happens.
Right.
Is front page. And then when they have to retract something, and then Rascala, that, I don't know if it's a girl or boy or hobbly hoy, that Charlie Rogers, that chick, that lesbian, whatever it is, he, she, Z, that said that what you were just talking about, carved a cross into her abdomen. Have you seen her? She couldn't get touched. No guy's going to tie her up and do anything to her. She had to have it self-inflicted, because nobody that had two eyeballs would even take a second look at whatever she is. All lies. Every single word, syllable was a lie.
Oh, yeah. And my point being, though, is that this mentality, that this, you know, I pointed out this lesbian because she is the opposite of sex of Juicy, whatever his name is, you know. and she's white. Okay, I'm not picking on just black people here, or
Of course
half black.
not.
It's this mentality that's going around. So what I wanted to ask you is, do you think that, we've talked before, and I found it so interesting when you point out that there are, forgive me if I'm incorrect, because I'm going by my memory. My memory stinks sometimes, but there are different seeds. That these are different seeds. Different people I come from a different seed or a different bloodline, and some have souls, if I remember you said, and some are born soulless. Is that correct?
That's correct. It's biblical, but it didn't, even if people didn't understand the biblical text, they would see it playing out socially.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about this before, and the listeners are privy enough to have known what I say and what other people on L&M have said, and on the Red Pill Reality, is the fact that there are two separate types of people on this planet. I hate to be repetitious because most people have heard me say this, but it's so easy.
Yeah, I want you to do it. I want you to be repetitious because there's new people listening tonight, and I want them, in case they haven't heard this before, to understand what we're talking about.
Well, it comes down to just this. There's those that wake up to help the harmless, and then there's those that wake up to harm the helpless. And you know who is who. And it has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with nationality, where you come from. It's just a seed line. It's a gene pool, and we are mixed and mingled. But you can tell that some people just, even though it is, that's I-S, it is, I don't have to wonder like Bill Clinton, whatever is. We know that there are people in the biblical text that had no soul because it says it in Hebrew. But in the English, it did not put those words in because, as I've said before, they thought it was superfluous, so they just wrote it in the King's English. However, we can tell, even without the biblical text, that people do things that aren't normal for somebody that actually has a soul. And a soul is run by our consciousness. That's like our barometer. Because in a million years, I wouldn't tie myself up and burn a cross in my chest and scratch myself and then accuse somebody, bear false witness. So all of the commandments, whether just even in humanity, just being a regular, decent human, would you not only harm yourself, but then falsely accuse somebody else? And the reason somebody does that is not because they're a lesbian. It's not because they want attention. It's because they have no soul. That's simple.
So would it be fair to say that this Smollett guy is along that line?
Yes, I will say he and like I've always said, they are mixtures of having a soul and not having a soul. And if you have even a little bit of a consciousness, then you become what you choose to do. So if he was living a decent life, he chose to run with what was being fed, which was his no soul. So he's acting out like an animal. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Even animals have what we call a nefesh. A nefesh is a spirit, which animates. Mm-hmm. But when you have a mixture of somebody, and I'm not talking about race, I'm talking about soul and no soul, the DNA, you go towards whatever you're strongest in your bloodline. It's just so obvious when you watch the news and see what's happening, that people are running around soulless.
How sad. So silly question. So now that we recognize that they are this way, is there any way for them to get a soul? Or is their plight in life? This is their part. This is what they do?
Well, like I said, the majority of people are mixed and mingled, and then they become elect to do whichever they feed. If they feed their evil side, then they have no choice but to be evil. But if they can fight that, if they're mixed, they can fight that and try and do something good. It sounds so convoluted, but it's pretty easy to just accept the fact that some people like being evil. Now, you and I can't understand that. I mean, I know you. I know about you with foster children. I know about you with adopted children. So how can I explain to Riscala and listeners how somebody could go into an abortion clinic, give birth, and then say, kill it? Now, if you think that somebody has a soul, now it's hard for you to grasp this.
Yeah, it is very difficult.
It is, Riscala. As a matter of fact, you know that Philadelphia abortionist Gosnell, where they even did a movie about him where he was, killing them at the last second. And they had him in freezers. Just look him up. His name was Kermit Gosnell.
Kermit.
And he was like an abortionist that, oh my gosh, the atrocities he did. And as a matter of fact, one of my friends, her name is Marcia Chong, she turned him in. And he was literally making jokes as he was killing babies. Jokes. And you're talking about a licensed OBGYN.
That has to be a soulless person. Has to be.
I mean, if you're going to go full term, why would you kill that baby? Why wouldn't you give that baby up for adoption?
What does that say about the mom as well, right?
That's what I'm saying. Why would somebody go full term and then say, kill it? Because I'm telling you, I know this is going to sound conspiratorial, but I believe first of all, I know that there's sacrifices. That's number one.
Yep, absolutely.
And number two, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Number two, I believe that some of these babies are born so they have the breath of life, which we know the Lord God put into Adam and his lineage. And they want to make sure that that baby takes a first breath and then kill it. That's why this late-term abortion is coming out of the woodwork now. Not just late-term abortion, full-term. And you know that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I said earlier. It's just
yes.
So, wait a minute.
They want to make sure that
you're saying
they're
something...
like sticking their thumb at God, saying, "We'll let it have its first breath, since that is what you said, but then we're going to kill it as a sacrifice against the Lord God."
So this is the darkness, or the evil, or the spirit of Satan, whatever you want to call it, rising up literally in your face now.
Yes, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere.
Wow. Wow.
And they're making it a legal process. I mean, does that even make sense to even have this as a debate?
Well, that's what to me, people like you and I think I'm safe in saying this, people like you and I can't wrap our minds around this. So when we hear of it, it's like, it doesn't make sense. I don't even find words to try to describe how I feel when I hear I don't even know how. I don't even know how. But I guess that, like you're saying, some people don't have a soul. We don't have a conscience. I think that's what stops me from even thinking of something like this. My conscience, because I don't even go there. Why do you even want to think about that? You know?
I know, but we cannot put ourselves in a place where we're going to even try to understand these soulless beings, because we cannot fathom what the evil that lies within. I mean, I'm bringing it from the biblical perspective, but I'm just saying, look at the arena of life. And when we've talked about it before, when I was on with you and Michael, which I had a blast there too, and I appreciate you all.
That was great. Thank you.
We talked about how could somebody cut somebody's head off. Now, I'm just telling you, there is not enough Krugerrands in the world, or Maple Leaf Gold, troy ounces, that would make me cut somebody's head off. And I would kill to protect, but I would never kill for pleasure. And there are people that kill for pleasure. And all this pedophilia, Riscala, when it comes out, and Trump is bringing it out, he's bringing out all of the pedophilia rings.
I agree. Absolutely. Unbelievable. If he was not the president, we would not be hearing about any of this. This would all have been swept under the rug. It would have still been business as usual with these people. Trafficking, the trafficking of humankind, a lot of children are involved in this human trafficking. It is amazing how, I don't remember the Bible verse, but I'm paraphrasing, all that is hidden will be revealed, is happening.
Yes.
It's happening.
And Trump is leading the way. And it's not, look, America, the USA, let me just correct myself, the USA, because when we say America, and I've heard a gazillion people, oh, America, make America great again, which I agree with, MAGA. But there's Central and South America, too. So I'm speaking specifically about the USA being the most powerful nation on the planet. And Trump was elected because God had him elected. It's that simple. And if we're watching, first of all, if Hillary was in office, I don't even know. I mean, the borders would be, forget the borders not having a wall. She'd be busing and flying them in like Obama did.
Oh, my goodness.
It's not even a wonder. They wouldn't even be walking. They would be in first-class seats.
We'd be in more right now.
Oh, my gosh. Absolutely. Absolutely. But when we're looking at the pedophilia rings, all of these, when the lamestream media is talking about separating the children from their parents, 90% of those aren't with their parents. If they get DNA swabs there, which they're starting to, they're going to find out those people are just using those children. They're getting raped on the way. The women are getting raped. The kids are getting sodomized. I mean, it's just one big pedophilia ring coming across the border. And Trump knows that, and he's trying to stop it.
He has a distinct dislike for those who abuse children. It's clear with him. He has almost a, I don't want to say a hatred, but he clearly has no patience for these people. He's openly said that pedophiles should get the death penalty. He has no patience for them in his life. It's just something that he's very passionate about. It's pretty clear. I mean, we literally have thousands. It's not reported, but there are thousands of these pedophiles, hundreds and hundreds of these rings that have been broken into and broken up, and hundreds of children that have been found as prisoners of these people. But you don't hear.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, tens of thousands.
You don't hear
everywhere.
About it.
And the people that are in the rings, you would think might be somebody that looks like Igor, but they're not. They're businessmen, socialites, doctors, physicians, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers. Anybody that you could imagine is a part of it, and Trump is trying to stop it. And that's what's infuriating the left. The left, when they get together, they stick with each other like glue. The right dissipates a little. The right will fight amongst ourselves, which we shouldn't. We should really band together like the left does. But the reason the left never rolls over on another left is because they've got the goods on each other. And when they have skeletons in the closet, usually it's a cadaver and it's a real skeleton. So they know if one rolls on one, the other knows the dirt on them, so they stick to each other. Where the right, you can see one after another will roll over, and or not all, but the majority tell on each other, not the left. Tight-lipped.
We're talking about this human trafficking here in Vero Beach, here in Florida, which isn't very far from where I'm at. I'm in Palm Beach County. Maybe an hour and a half away from me. 173 arrest warrants issued in human trafficking case, with more anticipated. And this may be one of those where that guy, I can't think of his name, the owner of the Patriots got. This may be one of those.
Kraft.
Yeah.
Kraft.
You know, that's a whole nother sad situation. You have all this money. Why do you want to go do something silly like that? That's ridiculous.
Yes, and it's not that I don't know enough information. I was raised by, my dad was a lawyer, so I don't know the evidence yet. But when you're a billionaire and you're going to go to somebody for $55, it doesn't.
It doesn't make
it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Seriously, and I'm from South Florida, so I know the money rings and all of that. That would be like. It's very strange that somebody with that type of finance background would go to, I want to say, low rent district, because what else can you call it?
Really?
I'm so serious. I mean,
Okay,
come on.
I know. All right, we're going to take a break. Don't go away, people. This is going to be a shorty, and we'll be back. More amazing information from this young lady. And we will be taking your calls when I come back. Area code 561-440-5174. Please remain muted, and we'll get to you, your questions, your comments, whatever you may have. I'm looking also in the chat room, so if you have a comment or question, I'll try to pick it up out of the chat room as well. And don't go away.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
Grace has some pretty stellar arms, like Serena Williams good, but her face is pretty disgusting.
Someone please tell him to go back into his closet and leave us alone.
Britney's face is so stupid and I hate her so much. It's like a scientist created her in a lab to annoy humanity and didn't even do that good of a job.
Megan reminds me of a troll doll that came to life intent on killing us with her stupidity.
Why is Grace's head so big? It definitely has nothing to do with how smart she is and probably everything to do with how bloated she is.
He's so funny. Just kidding. Who would find this disfigured flamingo funny?
Never post a selfie of yourself. You look so ugly.
The only reason you have so many views is because we think you're a freak and we can't look away.
Megan is the main reason that the world sucks so much.
I would rather get cancer than listen to another Trevor Moran song.
You are a mistake. You should have never been born.
Drown yourself in a shallow puddle, please.
Wow, I hope she's sterile.
These really stopped being funny a long time ago.
You're so much more than the things that people say about you.
Those people have no right to say cruel things to you to make themselves feel better.
It's okay that you sound different than everyone else.
That's what makes you so special.
We will not tolerate it.
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 Every day, people make me feel like I stand out simply because of the way that I look.
Every day people make me feel small.
Every day I face the cruel words of bullying.
And every day people tell me that I'm brave for enduring this humiliation.
But we're not the brave ones.
It's the ones that say no to the bullying.
The witnesses.
If we all join together, there's nothing that we can't do. We will no longer be the silent majority.
When we see bullying online,
We will let the world know that we're going to take action with the eye.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
Our actions will overpower cruel words.
I am a witness.
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 There is power in words.
But it's nothing compared to the power of the actions that we put behind our words.
Visit eyewitnessbullying.org to learn more.
I am a witness, and so are you.
I'm gonna stand by you.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
We have ignition. Strap in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
read your mind. We ain't about to get along, and I know why. You think we owe you when we don't. Yeah, there's a welfare line wrapping round Main Street. That money ought to help our boys coming back from overseas. We're gonna paint this country red like Reagan. Gonna shoot our guns, gonna eat our bacon. There's a great big bald eagle who's smiling on us, and soldiers who died for your privilege to fuss. If you wanna leave, you can't take it no more, man, I'll show you the damn door. I'll show you the damn door. And all these protests, you're throwing out some heavy words, and I'm just wondering, how the hell'd you get off work? 'Cause I got 65 long hours that I just put in last week. Now I gotta go back home, hear you whining on TV. We're about to paint this country red like Reagan. Gonna shoot our guns, gonna eat our bacon. There's a great big bald eagle who's smiling on us, and soldiers who died for your privilege to fuss. If you wanna leave, you can't take it no more, man, I'll show you the damn door. We're about to paint this country red like Reagan. Gonna shoot our guns and eat that bacon. There's a great big bald eagle who's smiling on us, and soldiers who died for your privilege to fuss. If you wanna leave, 'cause you can't take it no more, and I'll show you the damn door. I'll show you the damn door. Get out.
That is Buddy Brown, and the name of the song is Red Like Reagan. You can find him on iTunes. He was kind enough to give me permission, and I have it in writing for any of those who are worried about copyright infringement. So I do have it in writing. I thought that song really reflected quite a bit of how many of us feel today. We have our ways of how we refer to ourselves as Americans, and there are people who are desperately trying to change that, and the result of all of that is, I believe, some of what we're seeing today. To be a victim, but yet be a perpetrator, and to be wanted to be seen as someone who has been treated unjustly, but yet they are really the ones who are doing the unjust treatments. So welcome back, Miss Angel Strong. Thank you so much for calling tonight. This is a super treat for me to be able to have the time, because this young lady is very difficult to get a hold of, and she'll testify that. I've been chasing her for, oh my goodness, how many months now to come back and do another little interview and, kind of have a little talk back and forth about what's going on. So any of you that want to call in, I'll start taking calls. It's 561-440-5174. If you don't, I know a lot of people don't want to call because of whatever reason. If you have a comment or question, I'll try to pick it up out of the chat room. So anyway, did you like that song? How'd you like that?
I love that song.
Yeah.
I want that song. That song was awesome.
That's an American American song.
You made me laugh because when you're, first of all, that's the kind of song that gets our blood kind of pumping. I'm so proud to be an USA American,
Mm-hmm.
because I've been all over this planet. So I know the preciousness of this soil that we stand on. And you had mentioned last night on your show, when you were filling in for Michael, about that Covington, speaking of victims, where that Covington kid at the Covington school, Nick Sanderman, I believe.
Sandman, I think that's right. Sandman or Sandman. Yep.
Yes, where the perpetrators want to be the victim, and they just took that little clip, and the whole hullabaloo about that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's this whole mentality that's coming. I see it more and more, and it's like it's disturbing, because now, I mean, maybe I should have been this way all along, but now more than ever, I question everything regardless of where it's coming from, I'm questioning everything. I saw that little clip that you're talking, the first clip that came out, and I thought to myself, that young man, it sure seems like he's being disrespectful because of the way and the perspective that it was brought about. And I thought, that's not going to go well, because he's wearing a mega hat, and, they're going to find reason to be mad at him and whatever. But then when I saw the entire clip, that's a completely different story. You can see this man approach them, and he's literally screaming at him. There's no question about it. He is literally screaming at him, supposedly a peace chant, as he called it. But he is mere inches from nose to nose from this young man. And then I read the story about the young man, how he said he was almost in fear for his life. And he was doing everything that he knew he could possibly come up with, and that was to stand his ground and try to de-escalate the situation by smiling at this man who was literally screaming at him. And look what happened. When they turned it back around,
I know. They twisted and took that little snippet, got everybody up in a roar. I know when I see a portion of something and not the entirety that they're hiding something immediately. I mean, that's just, I already know with social media, if you're only seeing a snippet, they're snipping off the good stuff. So, and then I looked at, and he's suing. They're suing I call it the Brainwashington Post, because it's all brainwashing from beginning to end. But they're absolutely going to sue and win. And that guy was Nathan Phillips, I think, Native American.
I don't
know.
He from what I understand, he's a Native American, but I think he had issues even with the tribe that he was with. I think they had issues with the guy as well. And I found out that...
Let me just say, that's like Elizabeth Warren. She's more Pinocchio than Pocahontas, okay? I need to see his DNA swab myself to see what... I lived with, I know it's a funny name, but Chief Loco, L-O-C-O. Anybody can look it up. He's an Apache chief, years and years deceased, but his family, the Loco family, the tribe of Apaches, I lived within their family.
Right.
I know how Native Americans treat other people. That Nathan Phillips, no. Nope.
He also
don't believe it. Don't.
He also one time claimed to be a Vietnam War served in Vietnam, and then later on they tried to retract it.
He's making up fables as he goes along.
Yeah.
They lie. The left lies.
So
that's all there is to it. They don't know how to tell the truth. They don't even like the truth. They don't recognize the truth. They don't want the truth. They don't want genders. They don't want laws. They don't want guns. Only thing they want is to live like a bunch of heathen.
I think it's worse than that, honestly. I think
I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah, no, it's sad, but I think it's worse than that. And it's at the point where they are literally in your face. They're not even, shame isn't the word I'm looking for. They're not shy. They're not shy about it in any way. They're literally in your face about it. And if that isn't bad enough, they're attempting to further their program by finding people like Juicy Geesey, whatever his name is, and this young lady, I can't think of her name.
Wussy.
That are willing literally to harm themselves in order to further their program. That is disturbing, because if let's just say today it's okay, I pay these guys to hurt me, and I make a big name for myself. Nobody ever really finds out. And so the next time that something happens that they need an out, if you will, they do it and get away with it again. And before we know it, the entire thing that is going on, this act, if you will, excuse me, if you will, ends up costing us God knows how much, in not just in dollars, but in time and energy, in emotion. People get really wound up with, I can't think, Corey, whatever his dipstick, Brooks, whatever his name is. He was like pounding on the desk. Oh my God, this is like a lynching. Oh, please.
Are you talking about Cory Booker?
Booker, yeah. Snooker Booker.
Let me tell you something. He nothing about him is straight, including his eyes. I don't believe a word that guy says, not one word. He went after, as you know, I'm not even going to say her name, but she is one of, she's dear to my heart. You know she's famous.
Yep.
We're as close. You've spoken to her with me.
Yep.
He went after her on the news. So I have about as much respect for him. He's useless like a screen door on a submerged submarine.
There you go.
He is like the Kamala Harris. All of these people are looking for some kind of day in the sun, but they're on an overdue bill. I have no respect, zero, zip, none.
How, I think I know the answer to this, but I'd like to hear your opinion about it. How do you think it is that they repeatedly end up back where they are?
Rephrase that.
How is it, in your opinion, how is it that these people continue to remain in the office in which they serve?
Well, they have idiots voting for them. That's number one. And number two, everything is about power. They're power hungry, so they have the dirt on each other. That's what I'm telling you. They don't turn on each other. Look at during the presidential campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans were more against each other than they were against the left. You know exactly what I'm saying. Rubio was against Trump, Kasich, all of them. Bush, Jeb was against Trump. Everybody except for Ben Carson, he kept his head straight. But each other were against one another, cutting each other down. The Democrats continuously help each other get elected, reelected, into office, transferred to office, in higher power, because they know the dirt on each other. They're pedophiles and sex rings. I know it sounds insane.
Yeah, but I believe you.
I am, and I have good friends, and I love Dolly Kyle. She wrote a book called Hillary, the Other Woman. She grew up with Bill Clinton. She was a mistress of his. She's an attorney in Arkansas. I've vacationed with Dolly Kyle. She's brilliant. But
she's lucky to be alive.
On the Clintons.
Did you hear me? I said she's lucky to be alive.
I know. Yeah, because the Clintons have some kind of stock in body bags.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah.
Because everybody ends up zipped up in one.
Yep. That's crazy. It's crazy how they've gotten away with what they've gotten away with. So,
but think why they cover each other, because they all do the same type of bad behavior. It's just a criminal cartel known as the DNC. And in the medical field, and I'm telling you this.
I know where you're getting. I know where you're getting.
Anybody that works in the medical field, they know that an abortion, not always, I'm not saying always, I'm just saying sometimes, to get it covered by insurance, they call it a
DNC.
And C, yes. So when I think of the DNC and the DNC, and they're keep perpetuating this abortion issue, I'm telling you, there's there's something tied into child sacrifice with these people, and adult sacrifice too, because like you said, we're lucky Dolly's still alive, but they leave a bunch of bodies on the wayside as they go.
There was a story about, I don't remember if it was a car or a ship or a truck, that they found bodies stored in this, whatever it was. Did you remember hearing about anything like that? I can't find it. I had it on my computer and I can't find it now. Where they found a bunch of bodies that they were being transported for use in the body part industry, and this big, a well-known name came up. Oh, I got to find it again. That there's a whole market for this that's going on.
Of course, organ, body parts. You and I have talked before about even the way of growing new limbs, that we know that can happen, and it's not going to happen. But the business between pharmaceutical and now with all the stem cell and research and body part transfers, it's huge money, huge.
And we're talking like literally billions of dollars with what's going on. So it's no wonder that they want the border open. I heard and I saw.
And Rascala, we have to know, and I'm just going to tie this into the biblical text. I mean, because that is my background in one avenue. There is a portion in the book of Revelation that said that men, I'm not quoting it because I'm not in front of it, but it says that men will seek death and not find it.
Yeah, I remember
They want to die, but they won't be able to. And it's coming to where we are transhuman, where everybody wants this youth serum, but they're going to do it through technology. It'll be biological technology, and people won't be able to die, just like the Bible says, because we're going to be somehow or not we, but some people will not age. They will just maintain, and it has to do with, I'm telling you, they're eating babies, they're eating blood, they're drinking blood, they're doing all of this stuff that sounds absolutely like the guy that you had just give his speaking about gun rights, where he said it sounds like something Rod Serling couldn't write.
Yeah.
We're living in a twilight zone.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah.
Here in Florida, if you're caught messing with a turtle nest, you go to prison.
Oh my gosh, a turtle egg, yes.
And yet we can say it's okay to take the life of. For the life of me, I don't understand. I don't understand how they have convinced people to do what they, particularly at any stage, but particularly at the end stage, where a mother could say she's given birth and I don't want this child, and then what does that say about the doctor? The doctor took a note don't they take an oath as do no harm, right? Don't they take an oath?
Of course.
And how can you say that you're not doing harm? We've really strayed so far away from just what is morally right,
Rascala, but let's even go further, this transgender insanity. It's insane. Okay, you have doctors, physicians that are saying that at a very young age that they are confused about their gender, so we're going to start pumping hormones into little boys to turn them into little girls, or little girls and turn them into little boys. And then when they get old enough, they'll remove their sex organs. Well, what if somebody doesn't like their arm? Can you find a doctor that says, oh, you think your arm is mean to you, I'm going to cut your arm off? I mean, you go to prison. But they're allowed to remove their genitalia? Something is not right.
Yeah.
But it's biblical. I don't want to get too much into the androgynous part of it, but that is satanic. It's always been satanic. And they are now coming out of the woodwork. But when babies are born, almost every single baby that is born in a hospital, here or overseas, not necessarily in third world countries, but most countries that have decent medical care, they're giving babies always under the guise of vitamin K, which would be a coagulant because, you know, blood doesn't coagulate till a child is like 2 weeks to 2 months old. That's why circumcision was put off for 8 days and la-di-da, because the blood would just, you'd bleed to death for a little boy. Now children are getting that vaccine, and God only knows what's in it. They're putting hormones in babies. You get some wacko doctor, nurse, or whatever that wants to change, you know, that's got some kind of plan. It's diabolical, but they're able to inject without the parents even knowing. And as we're speaking about, or I am, about this transgender, the little boys, and I know you've seen it, and the listeners, whoever's listening has seen, where a little boy, like at 5 to 10, between 5 and 10 years old, is dressing like a woman, but not like a little girl, like a hooker.
Yeah.
Now, who allows that? Little girls don't dress like that.
Yeah. And when you say, you know, it's satanic, I don't know if I have a little clip I can play where this is somebody who approaches an abortion doctor, and he literally hisses at this guy when he's talking to him. Let me see if I can get this to play.
Friends, I pray, sir, you got to repent, sir. You got to repent, sir, for murdering babies.
Why?
Because it's a sin before God.
Why?
Wow.
Stinky breath.
Yeah,
Why?
that's pretty evil of you, sir.
Yeah, I am.
And I hope and pray that you.
Yeah.
Well, that's what you do to babies, huh?
Yeah, I love it.
You love it, huh?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I hope that you come to Christ, sir.
Oh, I never go to Christ.
I hope that you come to Christ, sir.
No, I don't go to Christ.
Yeah,
I don't listen to Christ.
You will have a darkened heart, sir.
I do have a darkened heart. Yeah.
You have a darkened heart.
I do very, very much so.
And you will stand before God in judgment day.
Yes, I will. Every day.
You will stand before God in judgment day.
Yes, I will. Every day.
All of the babies that you have
love it.
killed.
I love it.
Yeah, keep tearing the babies apart.
Yeah, I will.
Keep tearing the babies apart.
I will.
Keep tearing the babies apart. Yes, sir.
Shameful. And this man was hissing at first. You really need to see the video of how he's just literally gritting his teeth at this reporter who is, you know, telling him you really should be asking for forgiveness for what you're doing. Just that kind of behavior. How can that not be evil?
Riscala, that is a serpent seed. I mean, it's biblical, but it's also just recognizable that if somebody, even if they are half normal, wouldn't be bragging about abortion and wouldn't come out and hiss while talking about it. I mean, we have to get real.
That's crazy.
We got to get real really quick.
Yeah.
These people want to have a society like they are, which is lawlessness and death. That's all they care about. They don't care about you and me and their next door neighbor unless their next door neighbor is into S&M bondage. I don't know if you heard the news, but some gay guy, I'm just telling you, just was involved in, he was a newscaster, a news anchor. It was just yesterday. Got into some S&M.
They're the babies, their blood.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Got killed.
Oh.
So that, for their pleasure, is killing each other, watching snuff movies or whatever, and people want to tell me, oh, there's no such thing as a serpent seed. Okay, all right, well, you believe that there isn't, and I'm watching reality. So here's your reality check. There is, and they act like it, and they're subhuman, and they're not part of God's lineage, period. Next.
I just posted a link to the video that to the audio of what I just played, and you can see this man is possessed. It's disturbing. This man is possessed when you see him approach the reporter, and he's there's no shame. I fall back on these women who stand there and proclaim abortion on demand without apology. Just the mentality there. You know, I think we discussed this once before. Empathy and compassion have they been bred out of us, for lack of a better word, through what we've been exposed to day in and day out?
Well, certainly it numbs people because look at these video games. I mean, seriously?
Yeah.
A parent's going to let a kid watch a video game where they run over police and they kill something, and that's their form of enjoyment and entertainment? So it numbs us, but I don't care because somebody that's got a real soul isn't even going to want to participate in that.
Yeah.
So it's a cutting edge. We know, look, I can watch a movie and I'll know when I'm going to turn my eyes away from something. And it would be like something that is horrific. Now, if somebody wants to put themselves in front of a computer and watch and play those games all day, it's not that they are just completely numb from it, but before they even started, they were lacking a part of their soul or a soul, period. Because who would want that as entertainment? You have to be without a conscience, period. I know I say everything is strict with me because it just doesn't make sense otherwise.
When we talk about things like this, I have to agree with you. I guess because I have a conscience. I guess because it's something that is so horrible. I even have a hard time thinking about it. I have a hard time thinking that someone else wouldn't be feeling like I'm feeling. You know, I've said many times, a lot of us that have that are honest and pure at heart, we get stepped on real easily. Why? Because we just assume everybody else is like us. And then we run into somebody who's, I call them sharks, land sharks, that they'll chew you up and spit you out and then say, well, you tasted like junk anyway. And we have a hard time wrapping our minds around it. So this is kind of along the same line. When we're talking about things like this, it's hard for us to imagine. I would never hurt a baby. It's unimaginable to me. So to be called a doctor, somebody who is looked upon as we think of anyway, we hope to think of as a healer of some sort, to do these things. And we have some of these people who perform these procedures who proudly say, well, I'll snip the vocal cords so they can't scream. How horrible. Oh, again, they have to be soulless.
We're looking at it through the prism of our consciousness.
Right.
And I'm telling you that they don't necessarily have any. Even if they have a little tiny bit, it's not enough to change their propensity to harm. Nobody is going to apply for a job. Let me just tell you, before when Papa Bear had his show on right before yours, he was on, and he was talking about the UN. I mean, you know, the United Nations is crapola. You know that.
Yeah,
I know that.
Yeah.
Well, what was it built on? The land that it sits on, and anybody can check this out. It's fair game. I always say trust but verify. We're all slaughterhouses. They built it on an old area of slaughterhouses, so it was already a place where where animals, whether sacrificed or whatever, you know, they weren't treated good because they ended up being slaughtered and not in a good way back in the day. So when they picked that property, we know what kind of people were going to sit in there, and it's exactly the kind of people that are sitting there right now. Wow. So people that take jobs in certain places, if you're going to apply to be an abortionist, chances are you're pretty much soulless. It's that simple. Otherwise, you're going to try to be an OBGYN to produce and help with C-sections and produce birth babies.
And that's exactly what's happening, right? That's exactly what's going on. All right, I'm up against a break. We're going to make it a quickie, and don't go away because it's that time that we have to share with others. And we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Being a dad is an adventure full of special moments.
A cruise?
Surprise! Unexpected moments.
I got this.
And even awkward moments.
Okay, Dad, thank you.
But every moment you spend with your kids, even the smallest moments, can make the biggest impact on your child's life. So take a moment to be a dad today.
There's a lot of fear in coming back to school. I wasn't sure if I could do it. I'm a 40-year-old man that walked in there to get his high school diploma. It was very hard for me, but the teachers, the counselors, they help you. One of the teachers was Miss Araceli. Miss Araceli, she gave me direction. Every single time I had a question, she'll put down whatever she's doing and she'll come over and she'll sit there with you until you get it. Thank you, Miss Araceli. I know you make a difference in people's lives because of the person and teacher you are. I wanted to be here because I wanted to thank you for helping me get a beautiful gift. 50% of getting your high school diploma is walking through those doors. The other 50% is doing the work. Getting your high school diploma, it is a life-changing experience. It really is.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Have you ever heard of Audible? Audible is a website with hundreds of thousands of audiobooks. They're all high quality, easy to listen to, and, best of all, if you take advantage of a special deal that we've worked out for you, you can get one for free. That's right, a free audiobook of your choice in any genre, simply by going to audibletrial.com/openeyes and signing up for the free trial. It's simple to do, and it would support the shows that we bring to you, and hey, you get a free book out of the whole thing. So why not take advantage of it today? Go to audibletrial.com/openeyes and sign up for the trial.
Ask 10 different scientists about the environment, population control, genetics, and you'll get 10 different answers. But there's one thing every scientist on the planet agrees on. Whether it happens in 100 years, or 1,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, eventually our sun will grow cold and go out. When that happens, it won't just take us. It'll take Marilyn Monroe, and Lao Tzu, and Einstein, and Morobuto, and Buddy Holly, and Aristophanes. All of this was for nothing. Unless we go to the stars.
Do you need toner for your Epson, Hewlett-Packard, Canon, Brother, Apple, or Sharp printers? Look no further than Laser Technologies. In business for over 20 years, they offer the lowest prices on toner on the web. They can also repair your laser printers and toners fast and easy. Call their expert staff today at 561-792-9600 or email us at service@laser-technologies.com for all your toner needs. All toner is shipped nationwide. Why wait? Get the lowest prices on toner. Call or email us today.
While other stations just talk a good game, we win it.
Hey, sounds like somebody's having a lot of fun.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Goes, 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 goes,
Now, from sunny South Florida, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscala. Every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to midnight on the L&M Network. And now, your host, Riscala.
All right, we are back. It is the Red Pill Reality Show every Saturday night, 9 to midnight. And tonight is a very special treat because I have, not only do I consider her a good friend, but really a great human being who has the intention of going out and helping other people by sharing knowledge. How many times have you guys heard me say one of the greatest gifts that we can give is the spending of our time to share knowledge with other people, and in an effort to help everyone. Everybody benefits. When the greatest danger to our government is a well-educated public. This is why they keep dumbing everybody down. And when we have people who are, teachers at heart, and I think it's safe for me to say, this individual's a teacher at heart. She wants to teach people. She wants a better society. She knows the importance of sharing her experiences and her information with people in an effort to lift everybody up by knowing what's going on. It gives you a tool, or maybe even a weapon, may be a better description. It gives you a weapon against the system that we have to live in and day out. I have asked many times the people, please subscribe. And I've had, some people have emailed me and said, we don't want to donate. There's a lot of other free stuff out there. Unfortunately for us, we are a subscriber-based radio station. Without people out there who care enough to see to it that, what are we asking for? $5. Come on. But without you, without people who donate, we won't be here. Why? Because of this system that we live in. This system to me, it's like, I was going to say an octopus, but it's far more than just 8 individual arms or legs or whatever you want to call them. It's hundreds of thousands of them. They get us coming. They get us going every which way. And without knowledge, how are you going to be able to work yourself through this system? You'll become caught up in the system, like they say in The Matrix, the movie The Matrix, when, of course, both of them, both their names get beside me now, but they're walking down a sidewalk, and Neo is talking to, I can't think of the other guy's name, and he says to Neo, these people are plugged into the system. They're plugged into the Matrix. They are in such need of this system that they're willing to kill in order to remain in the system. Isn't that something like what we are experiencing today? These people who have a need for this system. I have to be a victim. They're the perpetrators, but I have to be a victim. This is all part of this sick, twisted system. Another part of the sick, twisted system is, unfortunately, we have bills to pay. That's the reality of it. We have bills to pay. We want to be able to bring you people like Angel. Let me tell you, there are few and far between, like this young lady. With the knowledge that she has and that she shares, there are few and far between. It's sad. We need more people like this. We need people who have a heart that they're willing to give of their time. Once you give your time, whether you consider that an investment or whether you consider it a waste of time, it's gone. You can't go, hey, God, excuse me, I'd like a refund, please. What number do I call to get a refund? It ain't going to happen. So it's the greatest thing that you can do, one of the greatest gifts that you can do for someone, to share your time with them and the knowledge that you have in an effort to help them get through life without going through so many pitfalls. So anyway, thank you, Angel. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for taking the time to call in. Thank you for being a teacher at heart and, in a way, a servant. And I greatly admire you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. I always say it's like Angel's arsenal. I arm people with the power of knowledge. And that is something that people need to have in their arsenal. I mean, we have to know, if you have one thing that you read the oppositions, because to battle something, you better know your enemy. Amen. And you better know who your friend is.
Amen.
So I offer for anybody, if somebody has an opinion, I want to listen to it, but I'm also going to weigh out everything. I weigh everything because I want to get the full story. And what we're having, like with Zuckerberg, with Facebook, we know things get shut down. Like your radio show is still it's still there, but there could come a day where Michael and you and anybody else that's out there, like what happened to Alex, they just shut you down.
They're doing it. They're already doing it. This is why I
call him Zuckerborg because I'm not so sure he's not. I've looked at that cranial protrusion. It looks too flat. It's a protrusion, but it looks like he's got wires going into his skull, and he doesn't look all that human to me.
I think he's part of
crazy as it sounds. I'm just saying.
I think he's part of the Rockefeller, right? I think he's part of the Rockefeller family. I think that's his background.
They're all intertwined together. It's a huge cabal, and you know that, and I know that, and the listeners know that, and people that are on the outside that have absolutely no interest in any of it aren't going to be prepared when it comes down to what's coming down, and it's coming down. I mean, agree. Trump has been our last battle cry of trying to get America back towards God. And like I did with you and Michael, I brought up the fact that Trump's family, and I remember that you guys were going, what about his last name, his grandmother being Elizabeth Christ.
Yep. It is amazing. So let me ask you, because you I know you're knowledgeable in bloodlines. From what I understand, either every president or almost every president comes from the same basic bloodline. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, somebody, and it wasn't even like some scholar did it. A little girl did it. She was tracing the genealogies between the presidents, and all the presidents other than one of them, and this was prior to Trump, are all related. I mean, these bloodlines rule the world. I mean, look at the royal family. As you know, Riscala, and everybody listening knows, whoever's sitting on the thrones in all the countries that still have princes and queens and kings, it never goes to the mate. It never goes to the spouse. It only goes to the children that are biologically come from the royal bloodlines. I mean, this is just so obvious in America, since we don't have kings or queens or princes. It goes through bloodlines, but we don't trace them back until some kid goes out and starts searching. And now with the DNA companies, it's not that hard to trace. Everything is 23andMe. 23andMe. You hear it and see it all the time, right? I mean, that commercial for Ancestry.com, getting your DNA results now it costs you buttons to find out. Nothing.
I agree. I just lost my train of thought. No, I got it. Well, do you think that Trump is part of this bloodline?
Say that one more time, please.
Do you think that Trump is part of this bloodline that has been...
I do not. I do not think he is part of this bloodline. If he is, it would be so minuscule, because he does not conform to their ways at all. He can't be bought. He's not interested in being sold. So what he does is he goes against the system. He really, for a billionaire, whether it be on paper or in mortar, what he has done is touch the hearts of the workers. That's who he relates to.
And I've heard...
Think about it.
I've heard...
He doesn't act...
Go ahead.
He does not act like a Wall Street mogul.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of moguls, I don't know if your listeners know this. Most of them probably do. But, you know, when Obama was in office, every United States president has a Secret Service code name. Obama's was Renegade. And by Merriam-Webster, not me, by the Webster's dictionary, that means traitor. please trust but verify. Traitor, he was defector, goes against your country, whatever the dictionary, and he had to approve that. Now, Trump is mogul because he is a real estate mogul. But for Obama to even accept that name from Secret Service, that was a clarion call for us to know that he was going against America. And by the way, while he was in office, and not all the time, but when it does happen, we have something called the Triple Crown, the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and what's the other one with the horse races? The when Obama was in, American Pharaoh won the Triple Crown, and they spelled Pharaoh incorrectly. When President Trump got elected, the Triple Crown went to a horse called Justify. So, to me, that is even from God. Just call me crazy, but having the fact American Pharaoh was pointing to the connection between Obama and the Middle East, and for Justify was bringing forth the fact that Trump was trying to get us back towards God. Not that he's a saint. He's not. I don't want a saint. We didn't elect a pastor.
Yep.
So
I agree. People who try to put him down because of something he's done in the past, that's all fine and dandy. If that's what you want to hang on, don't give him credit for all the stuff that he's done in the short time that he's been, and he's outdone probably all of them put together. You put all of their efforts together, and you look at his efforts in the short time that he's been in office. In my personal opinion, he's clearly far and above outdone all of them.
Look at the unemployment. I mean, it's almost monotonous because we know it, but everything that he has done, and nothing really gets reported. He's doing so much. Look at the court systems. And look what he stuck with Brett Kavanaugh, which I have never seen such an absolute ridiculous.
What do you think is going to happen the next one?
Somebody.
What do you think is going to happen with the next one? The next one is Amy. I can't think of her last name. I think
Is it Barrett? Is it Barrett?
I think so. She's a Christian lady. She's very, very constitutional. Yeah. Another one who's very. Yeah. What do you think they're going to do to her?
Listen,
they're going to find guys.
Attack her from 6 ways to Sunday. It doesn't matter who he picks.
I know.
They just hate him. They hate him so much that they will go against anything. But what that Christine Ford or whatever her name was.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Again, this is. You know what I said earlier about this mentality. I said earlier about this mentality where you are the perpetrator, but yet you want to be perceived as the victim. She's one of them. She's another one of them. Her and the guy that we were just talking about, I can't think of his name now, the Indian guy, another one. And then we have Nathan. And then we have Wussy, another one. This mentality of being a perpetrator, but I want to be perceived as the victim. Please feel sorry for me. I'm curious now, the people who have donated to this guy, this actor, for lack of a better description, how are you going to feel once you've donated money to somebody like this to find out you've been taken? What happens to the people who, sadly, this really happens to? Do you think they're going to have an easy time? Are people going to become more skeptical now? I believe that's what's going to happen. It's going to become more and more difficult for people who really do get, God forbid, but they do, it's going to happen. We know it. They get into a situation like this. People are going to probably laugh at them and go, oh, yeah, he's making the whole thing. It's like the little boy who cried wolf, right?
It is, except for here is the cutting edge line of that. We, on the right, and I'm just saying most of us, not everyone, but most, already have our antenna go up because we've been through this so much from like the Duke lacrosse ridiculous, that walking sperm bank that went against every guy in there, and she wasn't with any of them to try to destroy their lives. So we've already got our antennas on high alert. Now, the left doesn't care. They don't care that they're proven that they're lying. They'll still donate to these morons because it's not about who's a victim and who's not. It's about the agenda. So they just keep pumping money into anything and anybody that goes against Trump or against a decent society. And look at our sanctuary cities. You and I would go to jail for a ticket if we got caught driving with like an expired driver's license. These criminals can go to they can do a crime, go to a sanctuary city, and then a mayor or somebody will tell them, you better hide now because ICE is coming. So they're rewarding bad behavior and punishing good behavior. What does that tell you? It tells you that we're living in an insanity. And Trump is the only one that's trying to do one thing to get it back to a normal country.
Trump kind of reminds me of, if we look at it from a parental point of view, here we had a parent that was, you can do just about anything you want. Doesn't matter, you know. Oh, it's okay if you got a penis. If you feel like you're a girl, you can go in the girl's bathroom, no problem. And then Trump comes along and goes, don't you dare. Don't you even think about it, pal. And people are up in arms. Oh, my God, oh, my God. I think part of it for him is that he's an outsider. He's really not a politician. He said that many times himself. And he's come into their game, and he didn't come in from the bottom and work his way up. He came in at the very top, made them all look like laughing stocks. If you look at the data, put all the nonsense about he's a misogynist, Islamophobist, all that, put that all aside for a moment, and just look at what he's done in the small period that he's been there versus what they've done. He has shown that these people who have been in office for decades have done nothing but run shod on us, steal our money, and go nowhere. In the small time that he's been there, everything that, I'm not going to say everything, just about everything he's said he was going to do, he has done. What a change. What a raising of the bar, if you will, for a president. It was about time, right?
Riscala Darling. He is a builder and a businessman. Do you think when he sees somebody that's going to pay $250,000 for a toilet on a submarine that he's going to just put a check mark beside it? He's going to look at that just like he did in Jerusalem. They wanted to spend billions of dollars, millions towards billions to get the Jerusalem embassy moved. He said, what's wrong with the wood that's already there? He's a builder. He looks at that stuff. Those other politicians, and by the way, the word politics, just think of it, poly, more than one, ticks, bloodsuckers. He wasn't part of that.
Yeah.
So he looks at the bottom line and says, what are you talking about? He actually, like Ivanka said, her father signs the front of a check, where Obama signed the back. So he is watching budget. And that's what is making them crazy, because people, why do they want all these illegals over here besides the pedophilia and the sex trafficking? Because they get federal money pumped in and they siphon it off to themselves.
Good point.
These people, yes, it's a lot easier to count by the time it gets doled out to whoever's getting it, because the politicians, for every program that they have, they're skimming. That's why they want some of this programs brought in. Otherwise, why would the incentive now is to have kids and not be married? And you know that. Have a kid and not be married, and you get a bonus from the government.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I mean, Common Core math, stop dividing your legs and then you'll stop multiplying. It's that simple. And why are people getting rewarded for bad behavior? Because they can take the money from the programs. Period.
You know, that's an excellent point that I did not consider, and that is the siphoning off of the federal funds that are received for some of these programs.
Do you know how much money disappears? We don't have enough airplane scales to weigh it. They don't balance the budget, and that's why Trump Even though I understand the deficit, I totally get that. I know it's going sky high, but I'm telling you, when things come across his desk that don't make sense, he will put out money that makes sense. But he knows that the big, I don't know if you remember the movie, oh my gosh, it was Rodney Dangerfield. It was called Back to School. And he made a little comment and said, we're not dealing with the Boy Scouts here. Everybody gets paid under the table. Well, that's politicians.
Wow. That adds up, because if you look at what they make versus their net worth in the short time that they're there, the majority of them are multimillionaires. Yet what they make shouldn't put them in a position like that. So somehow they're making money right and left, hand over fist, if you will.
Yes, because there's nobody that's accountable except for them on these budgets for these programs. Believe me. I mean, we just hear it just in South Florida and in Central Florida, where we're just in our regular Sun Sentinel or Miami Herald, where it will say somebody that worked at a school district they found was siphoning $200,000.
Yep.
You've seen stories like that.
Yep.
Well, imagine when your budget's $5.8 billion in budgets. Well, when $60 million disappears, that's a
big deal. Yeah. Wow, that is scary. No wonder.
Yeah, but it's factual. It's factual, and it's the only thing that would make sense. Why else do they want all these criminals brought in?
I agree. Because if you look at it logically, it doesn't make sense. But then if you look at it from the perspective of their agenda, then it does make it makes absolute sense. It makes, oh my God, no wonder. Now it's adding up. Now 2 and 2 equal 4. And
Riscala, could you even imagine? I mean, be completely legit in your head that any of us put one toe over Nancy Pelosi's gate. She would have us arrested so quick and have a stalking order charge and have us booked. They wouldn't let anybody, and I'm just using her as a one.
Somebody jumped her fence. Somebody jumped her fence. You heard about that,
and what
right?
happened?
She called the police. She called the cops to get him out.
I mean, what do you think? She's going to open up and say, come on in, we're having a potluck dinner? You're going to jail.
And she's the one crying. It's immoral to put up a wall. She's got a wall all the way around her property, but it's immoral. It's immoral.
They all do. They all do.
I love
it's just the hypocrisy. You've used the word hypocrisy, but I'm telling you, it adds up to financial. Nancy Pelosi, all of them start out not dirt poor, but just regular salaries, and they end up being worth millions upon millions of dollars, making $140,000 a year. It doesn't. It's just.
Do you remember?
Even Common Core math doesn't add up for that one.
Do you remember Bill and Hillary when they left the White House? Not only did they steal a whole bunch of stuff when they left, but she was crying, "We're broke, we're bankrupt." Do you remember that? She was openly saying, "Oh, we're broke, we're
she
crying
said
about
dead broke."
Yeah. Well, and now how much has she? Yeah. Okay. But, it's Trump that's under investigation.
They live in fantasy land. And that's another thing. Look, oh my gosh, I could just ramble. I don't want to. But yes, we know that they're crooks. And they hate Trump, not because, look, before he became president, every single one of them wanted to have their picture taken with him.
Mm-hmm.
You know that?
Yeah, I've said that many times. They were all friends. I think he represents, in a certain way, he is a symbol to them of the killing of their cash cow. That's why they're so resentful of him, because he eventually will kill their cash cow.
Exactly. That's it. There's nothing any further than that.
Mm-hmm.
He is a businessman and sees monkey business.
And their kind of business is not his kind of business at all. And they don't like that. Yeah, like you said, like the skimming and things. I never really considered, that's a great point. I never really considered that. And it's all relative. If I'm making $100 a week and somebody, I lose $1 or $1 or $2, it's upsetting, but it's not a big deal to me. So when we're looking into billions of dollars, and then you lose $1 million or $2 or 10 million here or there, yeah, it's upsetting, but it's not a big deal. And in the overall aspect of things, it's not a big deal. And when we talk about billions, we talk about billions of dollars. I think some people really don't understand how huge a billion is. So let's say, for example, I wanted to give you, Angel, I want to give you $1 billion. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to give you $1 per second. It would take me at 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, it would take me 31 years. We'd never get to sleep. 31 years it would take me to give you $1 billion at $1 a second. That's how big these numbers are that we're talking about. So when we're talking about 10 million or 20 million or something like that, it's minuscule in perspective to how huge these numbers are. So the point that you brought up about this ability to skim, it's an excellent point that I should have thought of, really, honestly. It doesn't surprise me, but it's an excellent point because I didn't really think about that.
But Riscala, if it took you 31 years or whatever per second to give me that, how did Obama get billions in cash and gold to send on a plane to Iran? Where do you think
I've never been able to
came from?
understand that. I've never been able to understand. And why hasn't anybody ever, even before he gave that money to them, why weren't they standing up and going, wait, you can't do this? Look at the way they treated
I'll tell
him.
You why. I'm going to tell you why. Because it started out as $750 billion. So when they cut it up between themselves, who's going to turn on who?
I see.
When you're dividing the pie and somebody's getting a sliver of it, everybody's got their yap shut and their pocket full. If you can come up with between 1.7 billion to 150 billion in cash and bullion, nobody cares when there's 700 billion stashed and you guys are all divvying it up. That 150, that was nothing. There's, whatever the numbers they're saying between 1.7 to 150 billion, we don't know how much. We just know that the politicians got fat in the wallet.
Yeah, that's just what they want us to know, really. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
That's just what we're going to let you know at this point. All right, it's a break time, my friends, and I don't know why you're not calling, because I see a lot of you in the chat room talking about a lot of what we're talking about here. They put a picture up of that young man. That's disturbing. 10 or 11-year-old boy dressed up like a mature woman. Just sad.
No
just sad.
Little child, no little girl dresses like that.
That's sad. And there's one picture of him where he's standing next. Now he's clothed, but he's standing next to a drag queen who is naked, absolutely naked all the way around, with this look of surprise on his face. It's again disturbing. Disturbing that we're allowing.
I can only say one more thing. I mean, I have much to say, but genderless child, brainless parent.
Wow. All right, don't go away.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show on the LNM Network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
What's up, Ricky Dillon here at the largest social media gathering in the world. So the internet is an amazing place, but sometimes it can be a not so great place with online bullying and trolling and stuff. Have you ever seen online bullying before?
Unfortunately, it's kind of common. Online, people can hide behind the internet. Those comment sections can be a little
harsh.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's a good word for it.
I've been called many homophobic names.
I felt embarrassed. I felt humiliated. It made me stop liking myself.
What if I told you there is something that you can use anytime that you see bullying online that calls attention to it in a nice way? Like, hey, that's not nice.
I wish that was the thing.
It's this! So anytime that you see any kind of hate online, go into your phone, go into the symbol section, post this I, and it says that that's bullying, that's not nice. So would you post this if you saw someone bullying someone?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like a lot more mature way to handle the situation.
Find the emoji in your phone, send it to 5 of your friends, and let them know what it means to be a witness.
Go to eyewitnessbullying.org to learn more about the emoji.
Thinking of moving? Before you do anything else, call Diane Whittick of Bowen Realty. She provides a concierge service. Things like having your home or condo packed and shipped, even take care of your home repairs or upgrades. Diane has the expertise to get it done. As a seller, you will have constant contact. She will furnish you with bids on any services that might need completion: air conditioning, plumbing, handyman, and even cleaning. Living up north and have a home to sell here in South Florida? Just give her the keys, address, and a signature. Your payment will be wired when the property is sold. That's right, Diane does it all. Thinking of buying? Diane has great listening skills. Tell her what you want, give her your budget, and like a genie, she will make your real estate wish come true. There's no regrets when you choose Diane Whittick of Bowen Realty. To reach Diane, call 561-247-5478. That's 561-247-5478. Diane Whittick at Bowen Realty, located in Wellington at Wellington Trace East and Forest Hill Boulevard. 561-247-5478.
We just finished dinner and it was time for homework.
He hates homework.
It makes no sense.
I don't know how he finds anything in his backpack.
I can't find my backpack.
I couldn't even read his handwriting.
Holding the pencil makes my hand hurt.
I know he's bright.
Why is it so hard for me?
He's
I'm
just
trying
gotta
as
try a
hard
little
as
harder.
I can.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. Go to understood.org, a free online resource with support and tools to help your child thrive.
Do you have an unusual pet? Did you know that the Rainforest Clinic in Loxahatchee specializes in exotic pets? They see pets that other vets don't. Parrots and chickens, ducks, geese, turtles, snakes, goats, pigs, lizards, and even monkeys. Are you a beekeeper? Dr. Clubb, the first of her kind in the area? Yes, she takes care of bees as well. Dr. Susan Clubb has decades of experience and known around the world for her reputation as a premier avian vet. Located at 3319 E Road in Loxahatchee, just a short distance north of Okeechobee Road, you will find a modern clinic with in-house labs, which allow you to get your test answers quickly. You can find them online at www.susanclub.com. That's www.susanclub.com. Or you can reach her at 561-795-4878. It's Dr. Susan Clubb. That's 561-795-4878. The Rainforest Clinic located in Loxahatchee. 561-795-4878.
There are facts we're not being told on TV, so I want to talk to you about gun control in America. Why did all of the big media focus their attention on the attacks in Orlando and completely ignore the fact that the following weekend 52 people were shot in Chicago, a city with some of the strictest gun control laws in the country? There seems to be an agenda for gun control while ignoring the gun violence in other cities and countries where the experiment of gun control is already underway and failing. I carry a gun because there are only two types of creatures on this planet, predators and prey. No one watches a cheetah chase down a gazelle and deny that the gazelle has the right to use its horns to protect itself. But there are people who would deny that same right of self-defense to other human beings. Such people seem to think that the way to stop the cheetah is to cut the horns off the gazelle. That somehow, if you make it easier for the predator will simply go away. It doesn't work that way. If you make it easier for the predator, you get more predators. I carry a gun because when predators know they're less likely to have an advantage, they're less likely to be a predator. The FBI found that when states allow concealed carry, murder rates are immediately reduced. And cities in America that pass a law requiring households to have a firearm see the number of home invasions drop dramatically. I carry a gun because the ratio a gun is used in a homicide is significantly less than when it's used in self-defense. Firearms are used up to 300 times more often to save innocent lives than to commit a murder, and guns prevent up to 2.5 million crimes in the U.S. every year, often without a single shot ever being fired. I carry a gun not because it's a weapon, but because it's a shield. 200,000 women every year use a gun to defend themselves against sexual abuse. I carry a gun because almost every mass shooting in the last 50 years took place in a gun-free zone. Law-abiding citizens are forced to give up their right to protect themselves, while every criminal breaks the law, including gun-free signs, when they decide to murder. I carry a gun because a gun-free zone makes it easier for predators to target their prey. Stricter gun laws make the problem worse, and making guns illegal wouldn't remove murder from our cities any more than making heroin illegal stop addicts from doing drugs. I carry a gun because the facts are nations with strict gun control laws have significantly higher murder rates than those that don't. I carry a gun because I know in the US, scissors and knives kill almost 5 times more people every year than rifles do, including the AR-15 and other so-called assault rifles. Calling to ban a tool will not resolve the problem. I carry a gun because criminals break the law with or without them. The 9/11 terrorists used box cutters in airplanes. Timothy McVeigh used bags of assault fertilizer. I understand that some people want to blame things like semi-automatic rifles, 30-round magazines, hate crimes, terror threats, gun control, historic flags, national security, religion, or illegal immigration. I understand we want to blame something, anything that we can control. But don't blame me because I carry a concealed gun to protect my family. I understand we need to start addressing what we really want to ban: violence, murder, and insanity. I carry a gun because I know who's pushing to ban them. Our right to bear arms is not there simply to protect us against lowly criminals. I know the politicians know this, which is why they call for gun control instead of crime control. I carry a gun because I've seen gamblers who want more winnings, alcoholics who want more alcohol, and people with power want more power. I understand what the Founding Fathers knew, that the right to bear arms is there to protect the American people from those drunk with power, and I understand every country was free before it wasn't. I carry a gun because having the right to bear arms gives the citizens of this great nation a fighting chance against the predators of greed and power, whether in our home, our capital, or our neighboring lands. Evil exists only because too many good people stand by and do nothing. I know seeing America's right to free speech was a chilling wake-up call when it became locked away in a zone. That's why so many steadfast Americans and great organizations stand up for the people to keep the balance of power from tipping over. I carry a gun because it removes the unfair advantage between predators and prey. I don't carry because I'm looking for a fight. I carry a gun because I'm looking to be left alone. People can only persuade you to do something by one of two ways: reason or force. Having a gun with me removes their option to make me do something by force. It helps keep predators civilized. That's why the right to bear arms is important. That's why I own a firearm, and that's why I'm proud to say I carry a gun.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Miss Scala, every Saturday night on the LNM Network from 9 p.m. to midnight. And now your host, Riscala.
Okay, we are back. It is the Red Pill Reality Show. We're on to the, almost the last part of the show. We've still got a little while, and I've got a call, which I'll pick up in just a moment. If you're just tuning in, you have missed out on quite a bit. There will be an archive set up here on Late Night in the Midlands website. Michael would be putting up an archive of the show. It is a special, and I mean this with all my heart, it's a special treat to have Angel Strong on with me tonight. You guys who have questions and comments, you're losing out if you're not going to pass them on. Either call in or share them in the chat room. There is a chat room available if you go to latenightinthemidlands.com. You click on chat and listen. It's absolutely free. It's not going to cost you anything, as far as I know. You can go in there and you can share some of your opinions with the other people that are there as well. A big thank you to High Point Radio in New Jersey and part of New York. They also carry my show. Big thank you to WCET-FM. They carry the show as well. There may be some other ones out there. I apologize if you are carrying the show. I don't mean to not acknowledge you. I just I don't have the list in front of me of who's doing it right now. Things are still kind of fluid because we went from, and it gets kind of confusing. We went from the LNM radio network to just the LNM network, and so I don't know. I don't know who's doing what anymore. But we'll slowly. We'll get there, but thank you. I do want to acknowledge those of you who are repeating the show. They're simulcasting the show as we're. Some of them are doing it live. Some of them are archiving it, playing the archive later. Thank you. I do genuinely appreciate it, and I appreciate all of the subscribers out there, the people who have donated to this station. Thank you. I am ever so grateful for each of you. Please remember, I don't ask anything of you. I don't do myself. I am a subscriber. I have been a subscriber from the very beginning because I believe in what we're doing. I believe in trying to get people information that they can use. And, it's informative. Sometimes it's entertaining. But generally, overall, it's information that's not readily available anywhere else. And I try to make it as interesting as possible. And one of the reasons I love somebody like having Angel Strong on, she makes it really easy to make it interesting because she has such a wide variety of information from all different aspects. She touched on something that we really didn't talk a lot about. How many different places have you been, Angel? Different countries?
Over 70.
Wow. So when you say that this place, meaning America, USA, meaning the USA, is a special place, then you have the background, you have the experience that would say that is a credible statement. You agree?
Oh, absolutely, because you don't really understand how privileged we are until you go places that aren't as privileged.
Yeah,
I mean, I think people think if they can't get a biggie meal, that they're starving to death in America, in the USA, America.
It's sad.
We are spoiled.
Yeah.
There's that one, what's her name, Ilham Omar, that new in the House of Representatives. She's nasty as hell. I mean, she's from Somalia. I believe she's from Mogadishu.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was
Let
Somalia.
me tell you something.
Yeah.
I am friends with Colonel Danny McKnight from Black Hawk Down. I'm talking about really Colonel Danny McKnight. I've sat shoulder to shoulder to him many times doing radio shows. He fought in the streets of where she comes from, and she comes here and complains. She'd be in a thatched hut somewhere.
Isn't it amazing? It is amazing. Okay, let me get to the caller. Area code 928. Your first name?
Dawn, Morgan 3.
Hi there.
Hi. You know, tonight was the first night that I ever saw such a close-up of Desmond the Amazing's face. And when you look at his eyes, that little baby boy looks like he's dead. Number one,
wow.
I do believe some children are born transgendered, and, you know, you can start seeing this around 5 or 6. But what's being blown up now, the disgusting way that this is being used and peddled is horrible. 2, if this boy was transgendered, you know, as Angel said, why isn't he wearing little girl clothes? You know, not
a grown up. Yeah.
3, any little girl that is having makeup put on her or him and dressing up is going to be happy, excited, and animated. They're not going to look like they're dead in the eyes or drugged.
Good point.
Excellent. First of all, I got to interrupt you. What a great call. Now go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I have a question for you too, Wade.
These are great points. This is when you have an educated audience.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah. That picture, I've never seen such a close-up, and it really disturbed me. I was near tears for about 10, 15 minutes after I saw it. you know, it hit me hard. You know, if he was truly transgendered, he would have been having a blast.
I have not seen the picture, but I'm going to look at it. But I know exactly what you're talking about. And not having that in front of me, what she's saying is exactly, if somebody is making a kid up, like let's just say on a birthday party, you know, they'll paint faces or something on a kid. Kids are giddy. So if you're saying he looks like he's dead in the eyes, they're drugging these children.
Now that would not surprise me. That would not surprise me in the least bit.
On the painting behind him.
That's on the one when he's with the killers.
The killer and the convicted pedo.
The killer and the convicted pedo. The painting behind him says Rohypnol on it.
Say it again. It says what?
It says Rohypnol on it. The roofie drug.
Oh yes. I mean, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Ark's gonna repost that. But, you know, I just, yeah, even a little boy who is getting dressed up for Halloween is giddy. You know,
that's a good point. That is a good point. Even when he was, I saw a short clip of him on one of these shows, and he really didn't seem like a happy kid. He seemed more of a I've given up my whole, skipped my whole childhood, and I'm an adult now. That's how I perceived him. Did you see that little video clip of him in that show, whatever show it was?
No, I don't think I did.
Yeah,
I saw it still. I wouldn't open the video and watch it.
Yeah, he definitely did not look. I mean, he was smiling, but not like he was happy. It was more like I have to do this because I'm on TV. I have to smile, and he didn't act like a little kid.
Pictures when he's in the green outfit, the green dress.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's again, like you said, he's smiling, but he's not happy.
What does that say about us as a society? We allow this kind of insanity.
And you know he's being molested. We know he's being molested.
I have no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, he's being drugged like she just said. There's roofies in the background. When a child is dressed to like a Ziegfeld Follies, somebody's going to do something to that child. I mean, that's just,
if that was a little girl on stage, they would have immediately busted the club, and everybody would have gone to jail for molestation.
But that's intolerant. You're being intolerant and racist and homophobic.
How true. How very true. This is what we're supposed to be able to.
It's just absolutely insanity.
It is. It's crazy. And you know, like I said, when I saw that picture of the little boy, I mean, even now, you know, it's in my throat, you know, I just.
It is sad. It's disturbing. And
it makes me want to cry.
It angers me because coming from a background where I have seen children, for whatever reason, have to leave their family and then be put in a home that some of these homes they were put into, these foster homes that I witnessed, they weren't the best of homes. They weren't in the best of interest of these children. So when I hear about these things and when I see something like this with this young man, I really, it enrages me. It disturbs me, but it also enrages me that how dare you? How dare you? Again, if you watch the characterization of this young boy, he's not a young boy anymore. He's now a matured individual, or he carries himself. Maybe that's a better way to describe it. He carries himself as a matured individual. He's given up his whole, that whole childhood. He's what, 10, 11 years old, right? He has got so much more learning to do, but for whatever reason.
But he's like a child that, is taking care of 6 other siblings that are younger while mom and dad are drunk or doing crack in the background.
Yeah.
You know?
That is totally child abuse.
Yeah, but
It is.
Child abuse from the get-go.
But it's promoted. It's promoted as I don't want to call it. I can't remember what they called it. It's another word for sexual freedom. Okay, I can't recall what it was, but it's promoted. This. You should accept this. This is. You should be tolerant of this. I find nothing that I should be tolerant of in any of that. These are children.
No.
These are children that deserve to have a childhood. Okay? They're being robbed of their childhood.
They are, and even if they are transgendered children, they still deserve to grow up in a happy, healthy home and play with little girl clothes and makeup or little boy clothes and makeup and not be paraded around and put out like a piece of meat.
Exactly. Have money thrown at them.
They are what happens with something like that. I'm just telling you, it will. Not on every, I always preface, not on every, but in the majority, the cycle continues, and this kid's being abused, he's going to abuse somebody.
Yep,
because
I agree.
it just continues. You either
Yes.
go all the way or no way, and it's kind of like alcoholism. Either you drink or you don't drink, or you're molested and you molest, or something. It's just going to come full circle.
Exactly.
And
I was molested, and my dad was very violent. I knew I wouldn't pass the molestation on because I'm so defensive against that.
Yes, there's the key. You stop
me.
the cycle. You stop the
Yes.
cycle.
But I was terrified of passing the violence on because I can be very violent. And that was the thing that scared the crap out of me when I was raising my daughter. So, and my daughter, she turned out really good, but maybe she could have used a couple more spankings. I think I erred a little bit less, I do think children need physical discipline to a
some
point.
of them. Yeah, some of them
They
do.
don't need to be beat, though,
No, that's different. That's different. Beating is one thing. Discipline is something else. And I've had them on both sides. Had them on both sides of the fence. I just want to put my foot, where.
Exactly. But so maybe I erred a little more cautiously, but, we talked with our daughter, and just, I had her in counseling a few times as well. And I also read, the strong-willed child, because I taught my daughter to think.
Great.
And that's something a
That's
lot
what
of
we
kids
need.
aren't taught. And me and my ex-husband, we taught her to think. We taught her to stand up for herself. We taught her to respect her elders. But in return, her elders needed to deserve that respect.
Mm-hmm. Great.
And she's a darn good kid. Well, she'll be 26 this year. But
It doesn't matter how old they are. They're always going to be a kid. I got them in the 30s, and they're still my kid.
exactly. Your 30-year-old daughter or boy is still your baby.
That's right. That's right.
And always will be.
Wow.
And, my daughter works hard, and, she pays her bills, and she's good with other people, and she's a good girl.
What line of business did she get into?
Actually, she's a stalker. She worked in a warehouse for a long time, stocking the shelves for cabinets, putting all the pieces in the different places that they go. She works a physical job all day long,
physically
every
demanding.
day.
Yes, yeah.
She's strong, she's smart, she's healthy, and she's absolutely gorgeous.
Wow. When you first
That
said
is so awesome, because look, no matter what happened in your life, whatever you passed on to her through genes and through emotion, you instilled value. And just knowing that she's going to work, that she thinks for herself, you know, you didn't raise a parrot that repeated everything. You know, she had a mind of her own. You don't want somebody that just says all the right things but doesn't do all the right things. So you got the bonus. You got the bonus round.
Congratulations. Yep. Wow.
Thank you. Yes, she's beautiful.
All right. Have you got anything else you want to share with us or share with Angel? Any questions for Angel?
I'm just so glad that she called because she made so many good points, and especially the point of when a child is getting ready to have fun, they don't have dead eyes. That makes all the sense in the world to me, period.
Yeah, I never looked at it in that manner before.
You know, I was, like I said, that just hits me so hard in my heart. But I did have another question for Angel. You were talking about kind of the good seed and the bad seed.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think of the Bible as historical science, if you look at it deeply.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of along with Peter Kling and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the bad seed as coming from Lilith or Eve, or how do you perceive that?
Well, I believe, and this is through, you know, biology and archaeology, that there were people prior to Adam and Eve, and they were hominids. You know, they were pre-Adamites, whether Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, whatever they were. They did not have the DNA that was elevated, and we know this from, you know, just secular biology and archaeology, that something changed humanity about 6,000 years ago, and we can see how the structure. We had groups of people, but we didn't have cities the way we do today. I mean, when you were invited to dinner before Adam, you were going to be the dinner plate. So we know that something changed, and I believe that it came through the woman. I'm sure you've heard this spiel before, but there is just a seed line that's mixed. And
that's why I'm wondering, do you think it was Lilith or Eve? Because Lilith was supposed to be made separately from Adam, and, you know, because she wouldn't bow down, she just like, forget this, and walked off. And then supposedly Eve was made from Adam, probably from his DNA.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lilith, you know, we call her the screeching owl, or, you know, she wanted to manhandle him, and she wanted to override him, and, you know, all the sordid details.
She was an equal.
Yep. I happen to believe it was Eve that perpetuated the seed line through a hominid, you know, through somebody that carried a no soul, and that's how we got Cain. And you know the whole spiel that Cain is not part of any of the lineage through the biblical text. I mean, they'll put Cain, if you read closely, you know, it says Cain. It never says Adam was his father, and it just does not give any ages, no ages of Cain or his offspring. So, and regardless
he's always
how it
described
happened,
as the bad seed.
Yes.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious to see your perspective on that. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for calling. I don't want to be all alone on Broadway here that nobody calls, and I'm grateful that you did.
Oh, absolutely. And some of you other people in there, you're pretty good, so why don't you guys call too?
They're chicken.
Yeah. Come on, guys.
Well, thank you. I
Thank you so much.
I do appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for being on the show tonight.
Thank you. I like how you called in. You said point 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
You had them down to a science.
Yep.
Thanks. Last time I called, I noticed I had a lot of ums and ands, so I thought, man, let's be a little clearer this time.
Well, you did great. Thanks.
Thank
you.
Thanks, Riscola. Thanks, Angel. Bye-bye.
Thank you so
See you
much.
later. All right. If anybody else wants to call in, the number's 561-440-5174. Stay muted, and I'll bring you on. Go ahead.
Riscola,
Yep.
you when she was her name Dawn? What was
I think it was Dawn. Yes.
Because I didn't hear. She was so clever and so on point. She brought up the fact that this kid doesn't look happy, and one of my close friends, and I actually met basically through the radio show, brought up the point about how kids now are coming out of the womb basically and are glued to cell phones. I mean, when I was little, it was like a plastic princess phone that you played with. But now they're using real technology almost before they're 1 year old.
I don't agree with that. I think it's actually harming children. I think that the frequencies that are coming from this technology are not the best frequencies in the world, and these children, their immune systems are still developing, their brains are still developing, their ways of thinking are still developing. And if anybody doubts what I'm about to say, you can find that there's a patent for this. There are frequencies that can actually mesmerize you. And if you think that I'm kidding, watch some of these children when they're sitting in front of a television set and on some of these programs that they're watching. They're in a whole nother world. I have one of mine who to this day, and she's in her 30s, she'll get so wrapped up into a program, you literally have to scream her name in order to get her to break concentration away from what she's watching. There are many people that are like that. And when you subject them at such a young age to this, it cannot be good for these children. I don't think, honestly, and my kids know, even though my grandchildren are, I have a five-year-old who's around it. I don't think that they should be subjected to this until they're 10, 11, 12, maybe even 13 years old.
They're glued to them. They're literally, there's a portion in the New Testament where the Messiah says, stand up, look up, lift your head.
Yeah.
I think he was talking about everybody. I have seen, and I'm talking older people, walk into poles.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at a handheld, and they're walking straight into a shopping center and knock into a pole. And these kids are starting, and they're like not just mesmerized, they're hypnotized. And with like you said, with the frequencies, because we all know that frequencies can change the brain.
Absolutely.
So we're watching, plus their eyesight, it's diminishing eyesight like crazy. Seriously, because we're staring at the phosphorus on the computer screen, and we're looking at color waves, frequencies. It's just really disturbing what's happening to and I'm talking, as you know, I don't have any children, but I'm telling you, I've seen babies in stores holding handheld phone devices.
Yeah, it's very commonplace. It's become like a babysitter. That's the parent's babysitter. It can't be good.
It's insane. Well, when you say somebody watching a television show that you have to scream, and I've said this before, it's monotonous to say it again, but it's called programming schedules because they're programming people.
We'll be right back with our program. They're telling you. They're in their face telling you what's going on.
They're flat out, but people are so dense that they don't even understand that they're on channels for channeling and programs for programming. So they flat out tell us, but we're so, conditioned to it that it goes in one ear and a frequency comes out the other.
And we don't realize that we're being used sometimes. The one that comes to mind, you and I had this discussion once before, the one that comes to mind is the Monster drink. the symbol on the Monster drink. People think it's the claws of a bear or some kind of monster.
Mhm.
They're purposely made in that fashion as a symbol. It's a 666 in the Hebrew, I think, right?
Hebrew.
In Hebrew, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all I have to do is, the first time I saw it, I didn't even know that the name was Monster. All I saw was 666.
Wow. So
And it's the same, the World Wide Web, the W. We don't have a W in Hebrew. We have a V, and it's a 6. So 666 is connecting us.
Oh, my
like
goodness.
I've said before. Yeah, so the 666 is www.
Wow.
And everything connects us to that. It's no coincidence that it's called a web.
Yeah, yeah. There are, I think you told me you have some Indian in you. Am I right? Native Indian?
No. Now, my mom that adopted me did.
Okay.
Blessed memory, yes. I mean, the Hebrew in the Native Americans, the Cherokee, the languages were so similar. A lot of Cherokees for the Trail of Tears in the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
There, a lot of the burial grounds have Hebrew-like script.
I've read articles. Yeah,
it's very interesting.
I've read articles where they found artifacts that actually ancient Hebrew text on some of these artifacts that they couldn't figure out how in the world would that end up over here. And they believe now that at one time there was a land bridge all the way around before the Earth broke up into the 3 major continents that we have today. And that's how these things happen. There are pyramids all over the planet. That was something that came as kind of a surprise to me. I always thought of the word pyramid. I thought of Egypt, where I was born. I always thought that, Egypt is pyramid. But no, there's pyramids underwater. There's pyramids in Mexico. There's pyramids in China. I just read an article today where they found this out in the bush out there in the jungles. They found what appears to be what's left of a pyramid, and in the front of the pyramid are those, what do you call them, the statues where the men or women or whatever you call them are sitting with their hands on their lap. And if you didn't know any better, you would swear it's Egypt. You would swear it's coming from Egypt. So, apparently this was something was going on all around the planet at one time, all the way up to...
yes, and we had, I believe... Well, I don't have to even say it, but there's extraterrestrials that have done a lot of stuff. I'm not going to turn this into craziness, but there's no way that the way that those pyramid shapes were built could have been built in different geographical, from Peru to China to underwater to over in Egypt. And I know you're Egyptian, and I'm going to say this lovingly because I adore you. But we know when you're talking about Ramses or any of the statues that we see, those men were dressed. Look at the eyeliner on them. You want to talk about drag queens? They were all dressed.
Yes.
Think about every picture that you've ever seen an Egyptian. And believe me, it's not just then. It goes from the Mayans to the Peruvian to everywhere.
Yeah.
The guys that were the lead guys, the people that were ahead of stuff, were they or were they not in full drag?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it wasn't...
and I always wondered... Oh, sorry, go ahead. Get a word in.
I was just going to say, it wasn't just Egyptians. It was, like you mentioned, it was all over. I think of the celebratory... what do you call it? A costume that the witch doctors wore in some of these tribes that would sacrifice.
Yeah, the shaman.
Mm-hmm.
The shaman.
Yep.
And also, listen, George Washington, all of them, even here, wearing wigs and high heels with some kind of coat jacket dress on. I'm serious. Something's not right in some hen houses.
I wasn't aware of the high heels. I knew, obviously, of the white wigs. There was this thing about white wigs. I guess it's still commonplace over in the UK.
I mean, it's just kind of crazy. Yes, they had. You look at some pictures, and they have adorned him in heels, and whatever. I'm just saying that there's something I want to see some roosters in those hen houses, but they all look like hens. But I so thank you for allowing me to come on the show. It's been so much fun.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
I just appreciate it, Riscala.
Super treat when you come on. And I am looking forward. I'm hoping that maybe I can convince you to do it again here shortly because, always the information is very, very enlightening and it's always interesting. And you are a person who, I just hold in very high regard because of what you do. It's not just because of what you say, but it's because of what you do as well. There's one thing about, just saying it, and then there's another thing about saying it and doing it. And you do both. You say it and you do it. You reach out to people. You work with them, help them. Do I remember right? You've put on like seminars, or you've helped with seminars with people?
Yes. I've gone and I've spoken. I've spoken at churches. I've spoken at synagogues. I've spoken in arenas. I've done it all. And I do it because I've been doing it for a long time, but I'm telling you, we're running out of time because something is going to happen. It's not that I'm so into eschatology that I want to say it's doomsday, but the clock is ticking and the alarm
is about
to sound.
It's logic. I don't know if you heard the first part of the show before you came on. I played some recordings of people who are just fed up. It's like I have been saying.
Listened.
We're just fed up. We just had it. And what we're trying to do is diffuse this thing, because what's happening to me, I envision this thing as almost like a balloon. And day in and day out, you're breathing a breath into it. Now, there's going to reach a point where that last breath that you breathe into it is going to explode, and all hell is going to break loose. And this is what we're trying to avoid now. I believe that our president sees it kind of maybe sort of in the same way, that he's trying to diffuse this thing because he sees it getting worse and worse and worse. And the evidence is there. I mean, my goodness, have you ever in your entire life could even imagine that people could attack this man in the manner that they do, let alone, you're probably aware of this, and some of the listeners may not be aware of it, at least a dozen times his life has been threatened, at least a dozen that I know of, that his life has physically been threatened. One time they fired a surface-to-air missile at him, and they took that down. And yet he still stands tall. He's still, let alone the verbal attacks day in and day out. My God, if you could imagine the entire media turned against you and making you into something that you're not, and people believing that what they're saying is true, but yet he still rises to the occasion day in and day out. I give him credit for what he's doing. I'm grateful that he is doing what he's doing, because certainly he was in a position in his life where he could have said, you know what, the heck with all of you people. I'll go out and buy me a little island somewhere. I'll be my own king. I don't need this nonsense. I don't need this drama in my life. But instead, he's
absolutely. Hey, Riscala, what is the big thing that they keep on harping on with him is that he doesn't like immigrants. He's married 2 of them. Ivana and Melania are both immigrants. The only difference is they're legal. So that whole thing about him being anti-immigration is so convoluted. There is no other president that's been married to 2 immigrants.
And look at what we have for First Lady in comparison to what we had before. Now we have an individual who speaks 5 languages. And I got to tell you, when I was growing up, I didn't think it was a big deal because my mom spoke 5 languages. My dad spoke 7 languages. Now when I think about it, oh my gosh, I have a hard time speaking English, for Pete's sake. To be able to speak 2 languages for me is extremely difficult. And what's left of the Arabic that I have is just commonplace, vocabulary. It's hey, how you doing? What which way do I go here? That we were to try to have a discussion in Arabic, such as a discussion that we had tonight in English, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it because it's just not there. So to speak 5 languages and to be able to carry on conversations is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It just shows the character of the person.
Melania is brilliant. She is brilliant, and she has all class.
Yeah,
she
I agree.
is a class and she is a child defendant. Defender. She is all about defending the children, and I don't care. These hag bags that go against her, she should be, and I'm repeating what other people have said. It's not like I'm coming up with this on my own. She should be on the cover of every magazine. She is breathtakingly beautiful. They had Obama's wife that looked like a truck driver, and not even a good one, was on every magazine cover. So I don't want to hear anything other than how beautiful Melania is. She is breathtaking.
I think
period.
I think it's comical. If I'm not mistaken, it's Vogue. I may be mistaken about the magazine, but there's this one critic. I don't really understand the correct term that you refer to, but when you see this person who critiques Melania, I'd never make anything for her, blah, 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 or design anything for her. And then you look at her, and she looks like a clown. Literally, this person, I wish I could think of her name. She literally looks like a clown. She has almost what appears to be a heart-shaped red lipstick around her lips. Deep, either blue or purple, if I recall, around her eyes. Looks like a clown. I'm telling you, looks like a clown. She's got
I've seen her. I've seen her. I've seen better looking bodies exhumed. I have. I've seen that bag of whatever she is. This is total jealousy of Melania. Melania stands out like a beautiful thumb.
Yeah.
She is just absolutely breathtaking, and she's brilliant to boot, because I know even in my dialect, and my friends that are multilingual too, we're listening in English, speaking in Hebrew, or speaking in English, listening to Hebrew, and conversing in Spanish. I'm almost dizzy by the time I'm finished with being in Miami with all the family.
Wow.
But Melania is so well versed in those languages. And look how she's, with her English, I think is beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, my mom was here 40 years, and she spoke English about the way Melania speaks. You would think my mom got here 2 weeks ago. But when you are multilingual like that, you and especially if English, I think this is probably part of the vital part of the equation. English was the last language that my mom learned, so maybe it's the same with Melania, I don't know. But being the last language that my mom learned, she had a very difficult time learning the language because there were so many similarities in the language that she didn't run into before. Things like letter, lather. She would say to me, just words that sounded the same, and she had a difficult time differentiating between the two of them. Anyway, I'm about out of time, but before I go, any parting information you want to leave us with? And again, thank you so very much. I love you dearly.
I love you too. I'm so thankful for you, and I just appreciate you. And hopefully I'll talk to you tomorrow too, just, via phone.
Excellent. All right, my dear. Well, I wish you a pleasant evening, and I'll be doing a radio show. If you, I don't know if you know about the Fish Florida show, but I do the Fish Florida show in the morning.
Yes, of course.
Yep.
Yes, I do. And I was laughing yesterday on your show on this, when you took over or covered for Michael, you said, and I hope you catch me tomorrow. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's corny. I love it.
All right. God bless you. Love you so much. Be well.
God
be
bless
safe.
you too.
Hope to talk to you soon.
Love you. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, my friends. That is Angel Strong. You can find her on Facebook. You can give her a request for a friend. And we're about out of town. Listen, you can tell it's past my bedtime, and I'm going to get up in just a little while and do another show. But I do love doing what I do. I do enjoy sharing with people, and in hopes of, helping people to get on with life and in a way, try to avoid some of the pitfalls that other people have had, because to me, that's really what it's about. It's about being able to help each other, and through that helping, we come to the answers that we need. Been a pleasure, my friends. I hope that you will continue to subscribe, donate, help us continue to stay on the air. We are subscriber-based, and we can't be here if you're not with us. So thank you.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.